person on December 5th, 2024 at 7:00 p.m. for the purpose of transacting any and all business. Notice this meeting was posted on December 3rd, 2024 at 12:23 p.m. This meeting is being taped and is live on SATV. Councilors absent, none. Councilor Hapworth presided. Councilor Varela moves to dispense with the reading of the previous record. All those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. President Hapworth requests that everyone please rise and recite the Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilor Prosnewski.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. With the nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Reminder to everyone, please silence your cell phones as we go through this. The Salem City Council honors this land as Namkeg, or fishing place, where generations of Namkeg people from the Pawtucket Band of the Massachusetts tribe lived and passed through for centuries. We acknowledge this is unceded indigenous land and also acknowledge the Massachusetts tribe who continue to honor and hold this land into the present. Salem City Council is committed to having ongoing meaningful dialogue with indigenous peoples who have presence in Salem in order to dismantle legacies of oppression and inequities that persist today. Before we get into public testimony, Councilor Prosnewski.
Make a motion for suspension of the rules.
Councilor Prosnewski moves to suspend the rules to do the fireman's swearing in ceremony. All those in favor? Any opposed? No one's opposed. Okay, we'll hand it over to Chief Dion first and then to the mayor.
Thank you, Council President Hapworth. The small print today. Thanks for welcoming us, as always, for our swearing in ceremony and for allowing us to do this special ceremony year after year, time after time. Tonight, we're swearing in officers in one group and new firefighters in another group. Before we go there, I just want to step aside and talk about some of the occurrences that we experienced in the last 60 days, in particular about 45 days with the wildland fires and so forth. It was an unprecedented event for the city. In two different fires, we burned over 220 acres. We were in the woods 27 days straight with two or more companies. Some days we had upwards of 40 to 60 firefighters from out of town from all over the state working. The mutual aid agreements that we have statewide and with the mobilization teams really came to fruition and saved the day for us. As you know, the fires on the first 2 days were burning from Osborne Hills to Camp Line on the Lynn Line, everything that resembled that area. And considering the condominiums all in the Walmart vicinity, the Girl Scout camp, and all the buildings in that area, without the resources that came to our aid with the state, I don't know how we would have made out. And then shortly thereafter, the same fire, it seemed, was behind the Salem Woods, and we had the same experience with an incredible amount of support. But what meant most was the resolution that was drafted by the mayor and sent to the council. That went out to all the communities, and that the amount of work and the amount of people that came in here and worked for us cost us $0. The agreement is just rock solid, and basically a thank you went a mile. A lot of the communities that we reached out with that resolution were thrilled to get it, including the marshal and the colonel from the National Guard who got us the air ops. So thank you for that resolution. It really meant a lot to the communities that you sent it to. It represented our community in a favorable light, and it also made our department look up in a great way towards the council. I feel like you've always taken good care of us, so I want to say thank you. All right, enough of that. Thanks for listening. We're going to go right into this. This is an officer swearing in ceremony and a firefighter swearing in ceremony. I'd like to take a minute and just introduce you to the folks that are here and tell you a little bit about them before we go ahead and do the ceremony. I promise you I'll be brief. We have three officers getting sworn in, and one of them tonight is going to be sworn in as captain. His name is Tom Brophy. Raise your hand, Tom. Tom's dad served for many years on the Salem Fire Department. He was my deputy for many years, and Tom's exactly like him. Tom joined the Salem Fire Department on January 7th. He's been with us for 23 years. He was promoted to lieutenant February 13, 2016. Recently promoted to captain on February 26, 2024. He brings a lot to this department. He's our house resident artist. Anything you see on our t-shirts, the dozens of patches we sell every year, different styles, the hats. He's the artist. He's the guy that does it all. And he's also the guy that steps up for special projects. The stations have been painted, and Tom's done an incredible amount of work at Salem Fire Headquarters. And he's also another guy that joins the special operations team, the fire investigation team. He's one of the more active members in the department. And it takes a bunch of guys like Tom to make the department work. So he's an excellent choice for captain. Congratulations, Tom. The next person up is Ray Krajewski. For those who may not know him, best mustache in the department. Ray joined the fire department September 9th, 2000. I don't have the year. What year was it? 94. So he's been here a while. He has 30 years with the department. And Ray was just recently promoted January 6, 2023. We did a swearing in ceremony shortly after that. But at his age, he had to change his knees. How many did you change? Just one? All three. Ray's very active, filling important roles in the department. And the one that always comes to mind is his efforts on behalf of the union. Some may think we have a contentious relationship with the union. We do not. The union is an important part of the Salem Fire Department, and they help to make things work. And Ray has served the union in all roles, and his leadership carries right through to the ranks that he serves. Presently, he's stationed at headquarters, and he's one of the guys that's willing to stay there. A lot of times, people as they get up in the years would like to go to the outside stations. Ray stays at headquarters because he wants to be there, and he's making an impact on all our newer guys, and he shows up every day, leads by example. He's a role model, and he's a credit to the department. I'd like to congratulate Ray. Brad Sullivan in the middle. Brad joined us October 10, 2016. He's been with the department for just about 10 years. He was promoted to lieutenant February 21st, 2024. He serves presently as a lieutenant on Division 3 at headquarters. As the junior lieutenant at headquarters, he does the lion's share of the work. There's a lot of phone calls, a lot of hiring, a lot of outside detail paperwork, you name it. That's the stuff he does. But most importantly, the lieutenants, they do the bulk of the work with the new guys and the training and so forth. And he brings so much to the table. And I'm thrilled to have him as a new officer. Congratulations. A couple of firefighters that I want to single out. Right to my right is John O'Leary. I couldn't see in my fuzzy glasses. John O'Leary came to us. We scored big time. Burlington allowed him to transfer to his hometown from Burlington, and he joined us this summer. How many years were you on in Burlington? 2. So he was on in Burlington for 2 years, and he came here to Salem. He's a paramedic. He's very well respected in Salem already because he's worked many years as a paramedic on the ambulance. Very popular with the Atlantic ambulance people and the Salem firefighters. He's an excellent addition to the team. Welcome aboard. I have to say something about Johnny Kapnis because half the people in the room are here to see him. Johnny Kapnis, he joined the department April 8th, 2024. Another paramedic, lots of experience in the field with Atlantic Ambulance, well respected. John's, we call him JT. He's a legacy. His grandfather retired as a lieutenant from the Salem Fire Department many, many years ago. I don't have all that information today. We just recently buried him. He was a great man. He sold the popcorn too and all that stuff. And he comes from a big family, and the legacy continues with JT. So welcome aboard, JT. And then we have 3 gentlemen to my right. They joined us just recently, September 16th. They're all presently attending the Mass Fire Academy. They've been there for about a month now, and Intel tells me they're doing a very, very good job representing our community as true professionals. Let me introduce to you Joseph Gallo, Jason Santos, and Ryan Squires. Welcome to the Salem Fire Department. That concludes my comments. I'd like to turn it over to Mayor Pongallo for a few words, and then we're going to swear these guys in.
Thank you, Chief. I also want to thank you to the council for giving us the opportunity to conduct this ceremony before your meeting tonight. I want to thank and also recognize our district attorney, District Attorney Paul Tucker has joined us as well. Thank you, Paul. So my remarks are facing you, but they're intended for the gentleman behind me. I want you to know how proud we are to have all of you joining and being promoted into these ranks. For those of you who are new, you're joining a department that has a long and proud legacy in our community. In my office, I've shown the chief before, I have a copy of the first bylaws of the Salem Fire Department from 1828. At the time, they elected the leader of the department, which, I don't know. But, even reading those rules, you could see that the duties of the individual firefighters, they were clear and they were set to a very high standard. 110 years ago, this year, a great fire tore across Salem, destroyed 1,400 buildings and left 20,000 people homeless. And while it was an awful fire, it was the heroism of Salem firefighters that kept it from becoming far worse. And as the chief mentioned, the events of these last few months with the historic brush fires that we've had here, burning almost the same number of acres that burned during the Great Salem Fire, made it clear yet again that centuries onward, how important it is for us to have talented professional firefighters here in Salem. I grew up around the corner from Station 2, and I remember as a kid what it meant to me to see a truck rolling out of there. It meant that someone needed help, but that it was going to be okay. Every time you leave on a call, no matter what the call's for, even if it's a false alarm, never forget you aren't just doing your job. You're a role model in that moment to the kids you'll drive past. On behalf of the city of Salem, it gives me enormous pride to extend my congratulations and that of our community on tonight's achievement. Thank you for stepping up for Salem and for keeping the legacy of excellence in our fire service alive and well. Shall we proceed to the... Raise your right hand. Do solemnly swear that I will faithfully and impartially discharge and perform all the duties incumbent upon me as chief, acting to the best of my ability and understanding, agreeably with the Constitution and laws of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and the Charter and ordinances of the City of Salem. So help me God. I state your name. Do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States. So help me God. Congratulations. You guys ready? All right. Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Jason Jones,
Do solemnly swear that I will faithfully and impartially discharge and perform all the duties incumbent upon me as chief firefighter, acting to the best of my ability and understanding, agreeably with the Constitution and laws of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and the Charter and ordinances of the City of Salem. So help me God. I state your name. Do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States. So help me God. Congratulations. You guys are going to proceed to the assistant clerk who's going to have you sign the book. You got to sign the book. Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So I want to thank congratulate all the new firefighters, the new promotions, and also thank the families who are here tonight. And before we move forward, let's go to Councilor Prosnowski to suspend the rules. Councilor Prosnowski.
Motion for a 5-minute recess.
Councilor Prosnowski moves for a 5-minute recess. Seeing no objection, or sorry, all those in favor? We're in recess. Thank you.
Make a motion to take matters out of order so that we can, to page 25, a resolution for Mr. Baker.
Councilor Prosnowski moves to suspend the rules to go out of order to page 25, seeing no objections. And I'll have Councilor Prosnowski come on up here.
Councilor Hapworth.
We have a resolution recognizing Roger Baker for his dedication to supporting Salem firefighters. Whereas the Salem City Council celebrates the selfless dedication of those who contribute to the safety and well-being of our community, particularly those who support our first responders. And whereas Roger Baker has been a steadfast and reliable partner in ensuring the health, safety, and morale of our firefighters by providing crucial support through his work with Rehab 5. And whereas Roger Baker and the Rehab 5 team have consistently demonstrated their commitment to the firefighters of Salem, showing up at all hours of the day and night to provide hydration, nourishment, and rest during large-scale emergencies, including the recent wildfires. And whereas during challenging and demanding wildfires that affected the North Shore, Roger Baker went above and beyond, providing tireless support to our firefighters who worked long and exhausting hours, ensuring they had the resources needed to maintain their strength and effectiveness. And now, therefore, be it resolved, the Salem City Council formally expresses our deepest appreciation to Roger Baker for his unwavering support and dedication to the firefighters of Salem. His selflessness and commitment have made a significant impact on the morale and well-being of those who protect our community. We are proud to recognize Roger with the Salem City Seal in gratitude for his outstanding service, and a copy of this resolution will be sent to him and Chief Dion, the Salem Fire Department, as a token of our heartfelt thanks. I am going to turn it over to Chief Dion in just a minute here, but I just want to appreciate Local 172 for bringing this to my attention. I wasn't aware of Roger and the great work that he's been doing throughout the North Shore area. And I motion that we accept this resolution by roll call vote. Thank you, Councilor Watson-Feld. I appreciate the work that Roger has been doing for this community and for all the local communities here. I think that to me it was a surprise. I wasn't aware of this work, but to others like Chief Dion, this is something that they've been aware of for a very, very long time and have supported Roger in his efforts. I'll turn it over to Chief, and then if Roger wants to come up and say a few words, we'll turn it over to him as well.
Roger, would you
Suspend the rules to allow the chief to speak.
come on up, stand next to me, Roger? Let these people see you. Yes, he has been doing this for a long time. I promise you I'll be brief. Yes, he has been doing this for a long time. I met Roger about 35, 40 years ago. We took an EMT class at North Shore Community College in Lynn. And back then he was just getting started. So that tells you how long he's been doing this. And when I say this, what I mean is he started out with one truck and he'd show up and hand out water bottles and so forth. Now he's got a fleet of trucks, a crew of volunteers that he manages, and they show up at just about any incident on the North Shore, whether it's a house fire at 2 a.m. in February at 5 degrees or brush fires at 100 degrees behind Walmart. He's there. And if we're there for more than a certain amount of hours, the truck shows up with pizza, food, the stuff that we need to keep the guys going. And it's important. And he never misses. We never not see him. He's always there. In the county, he's part of our Essex County Fire Chiefs Association as an honorary member. And he's a valuable part of that organization. And we try to assist him with donations and funding. I know our local is generous with Roger and his organization, but it's all through donations and through hard work and dedication with Roger and his team. So all the credit he deserves is still not enough. Roger's amazing, and I just want to call that to everybody's attention. Thank you, Councilor.
Thank you. I appreciate being noticed, I guess. Sometimes we go under the radar. Our trucks are all red and they just look like we're municipal firefighters when we're on the scene. So on behalf of myself and all of the volunteers that help us, we appreciate the support and the kind words. We do cover 23 towns, and this was a pretty challenging time for us. We had several fires going on at the same time. We were still able to manage it, and while it was challenging, it was fun at the same time. So we enjoy doing it. That's why I do it. And thank you very much.
Any further discussion, Councilor Hapworth?
If there's no further discussion, I'd move to go back out of order to page 24.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, guys. I'm just, the rules are all out the door right now today.
Councilor Hapworth moves for adoption by roll call vote. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Cohen,
Yes.
Councilor Davis.
Yes.
Councilor Harvey,
Yes.
Councilor Jerslow,
Yes.
Councilor Merkel,
Yes.
Councilor Marcillo,
Yes.
Councilor Prosnewski,
Yes.
Councilor Stott,
Yes.
Councilor Varela,
Yes.
Councilor Watson-Felt,
Yes.
and Councilor Hapworth.
Yes.
Matter carries unanimously, 11-0. Councilor Hapworth.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we go back out of order to page 24. And I move that 24.
24.
I move that we come back up. That'll be enough out of Councilor Watson-Felt over there. And we can,
Yeah.
Councilor Hapworth moves that we go to page 24.
we're there already. So why not just do the resolution now? Councilor Prosnewski.
Thank you. This is a resolution recognizing the service of Donald Famico upon his retirement as the City of Salem Animal Control Officer for the Salem Police Department. Whereas Mr. Donald Famico, a true son of Salem, was appointed to the position of part-time Animal Control Officer for the City of Salem in 1969. He has announced his retirement. Whereas ACO Famico has also served faithfully and honorably under 11 mayors and 7 chiefs of police. Whereas ACO Famico has consistently distinguished himself by going above and beyond addressing animal control issues throughout the city as both the animal control officer and a certified state inspector of animals. Whereas ACO Famico has earned the esteem and respect of his colleagues at the Salem Police Department for his honesty of character, sincerity, and ever-present sense of humor. Whereas, if they could speak for themselves, the pets of Salem, who at one time or another became separated from their humans, along with the voices of furry and winged wildlife who found themselves in distressing circumstances, would express their appreciation for the care and concern of the welfare as demonstrated by ACO Famico throughout his career. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the mayor of the city of Salem and the Salem City Council, on behalf of the staff of the Salem Police Department and the citizens of Salem and the animal residents therein, express our sincere appreciation and gratitude to Animal Control Officer Donald Famico for his loyalty and the dedication he has displayed through his 55 years of public service. And be it further resolved that this resolution be made a matter of record of these proceedings, and that a suitable copy be presented to ACO Famico along with a copy of the city seal on behalf of the mayor, the city council, the Salem Police Department, and the citizens and animals of Salem. I move for adoption by roll call vote.
Councilor Prosnewski moves for adoption by roll call vote. Under discussion.
Thank you. I went to school with Donald. I graduated high school with Donald. I've known Donald for 55 years and worked with him for 55 years. Everything that I said over here is no exaggeration. His honesty, his integrity, his care for animals, his care for the people who have pets is second to none. Always answering the calls, regardless, day or night, time of day. Donald has always been there and has appropriately and wonderfully addressed every issue that's been given to him. He was a one-man show for many, many years in a city where we've had all kinds of issues with animals, including the coyotes and now the turkeys and everything else. Don's role has expanded over the years, and every time he's always led the way and educated everybody, including members of the Salem Police Department, as to what's being done, how he's doing it, and how we should be doing things to protect the animals and the people. So all I can say is 55 years is probably the longest that anybody has served in public service, I think, in one department in the city. And hats off to Donald, and I wish him the best of health and for him and his family in his retirement. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Councilor Varela.
Thank you, President Hapworth. I know Donald's not here, but personally knowing Donald, not only as a resident, but as a city councilor working with him, just wanted to personally thank Donald for his dedication to the city. But the reason I wanted to say something is why Donald's so fantastic is he's always willing to work with the residents when it comes to a problem. He's enforcement, yes, but he's always trying to find a middle ground and find and educate our residents. And I think I hope that this continues with the city of Salem, and losing Donald is going to be hard. But I just thank you, Donald, for working with everybody.
Any further discussion? Councilor Cohen and Councilor Marcelo.
Thank you, President Hapworth. I got to work with Don when I was doing the recycling for a few years. I do want to echo what Councilor Varela said. When the wildlife ordinance was passed, he actually did several stakeouts at Palmer Cove Park where we had some issues. And he's so good at following up on things. There's many times where he just says, give me the contact information of the resident, like Councilor Varela said, and then he just takes it from there. And he's got great follow-up and really good guy. I think he started when he was 17 years old, which is why it's 55 years. So congratulations.
Councilor Marcelo.
Thank you, President. I'll just hop in here and say he has been an incredible resource and very responsive and does help to educate people, myself, things that I can pass along to residents. And I just want to wish him the best in his retirement.
Any further discussion? Seeing none on that, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Cohen?
Yes.
Councilor Davis?
Yes.
Councilor Harvey?
Yes.
Councilor Jerslow?
Yes.
Councilor Merkel?
Yes.
Councilor Marcello?
Yes.
Councilor Prosnewski?
Yes.
Councilor Stott?
Yes.
Councilor Varela?
Yes.
Councilor Watson Felt?
Yes.
And Councilor Hapworth?
Yes. Resolution recognizing the service of Don Famico upon his retirement as the Salem Animal Control Officer, the Salem Police Department. We have 11 councilors voting, 11 in favor, none opposed. Matter carries. Thank you, Don. Councilor Cohen.
Thank you, President Hapworth. I'd like to move that we return to the agenda, page 5, as we have people here for a hearing, which shouldn't take that long.
Councilor, is it 5? Councilor Cohen moves to return to page 5 in the regular agenda. Seeing no objection.
We have ordered, sorry.
Okay, I'm just getting there. Sorry. Hearings.
We have an order from Delbrook JKS to work holidays at the 266 Canal Street project.
Those appearing in favor, please make your way to the podium.
Hello. I'm Brett Standish. I'm 98 Topsfield, 98 Perkins Road, Topsfield, Mass. I work for Delbrook JKS as well as my coworker here.
Work at Delbrook JKS, and then, appearing in favor of the hearing here.
Do you want to talk a little bit about the request?
Sure, yeah. So basically, what we're asking for is some of these fringe holidays that the city, identifies as holidays. We're requesting to work for a couple of reasons, I guess. One is to kind of maintain job schedule. The other reason is a lot of the guys that work on the site don't get paid for these holidays. So that's a big part of it as well. We have 60 to 70 guys right now on site. And, it's a long-term project. So added up over the year and a half plus will remain there. It's a lot of money for these folks too.
Any questions from the council? Councilor Cohen.
Thank you, President Hapworth. I met with Brett Sang and I think 13 other foremen. We took out some holidays, like Memorial Day, Labor Day, Veterans Day this year, July 4th. Some of the holidays are Martin Luther King Day, Patriots Day, Juneteenth, Indigenous Peoples Day, Good Friday. Can I submit conditions now? Is that?
Sure, we can discuss those right now.
Yeah, so we discussed with Delbrook JKS the following conditions. The work cannot start until 8 a.m. It has to end at 4 p.m. There cannot be any noise, significant noise before or after those times. There will be continuous access to Bertini Lane for the residents, and Delbrook JKS and Beverly Crossing has agreed to flyer all the houses of the residents with phone numbers, so they have contact information to make sure if there's any issues that they will respond immediately.
Any further discussion? Councilor Watson-Felt.
Just a question, President Hapworth. Do we need to have the list of the specific holidays we're voting on and not versus not voting on? Because this just says holidays. Is it documented somewhere officially?
We have a list of
in the backup. Okay, thank you. So, but it does not have to be a part of the vote.
What's the holidays real quick? Yeah, we're taking out, we took out Veterans Day of 2024.
Right.
We're taking out Memorial Day 2025 and 2026. Taking out July 4th, both years. Taking out Labor Day of 2025. We're taking out the day after, already happened the day after Thanksgiving this year. All the rest will stay.
So the other ones you listed, Councilor Cohen, just for my clarity, are in still, right? So MLK, they'll work.
MLK
Juneteenth,
both
they'll
days,
work.
Patriots Day both years, Patriots Day both years, Juneteenth only next year, Indigenous People Day only next year, Christmas Eve 2024, 2025, New Year's Eve 2024, 2025, and Good Friday both years.
Thank you for clarifying.
Any further discussion? Seeing none. Okay. Anyone else appearing in favor, please make your way to the podium or raise your hand and we'll allow you to speak on Zoom. Nobody. Thank you, guys. Anybody else appearing in opposition, please make your way to the podium or raise your hand and we'll allow you to speak on Zoom. Seeing none. Councilor Cohen.
I move to close the public hearing.
Councilor Cohen moves to close the public hearing. All those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Gentlemen, can have a seat if you want to. Thank you. Councilor Cohen.
I move that this is granted.
Councilor Cohen moves this be granted with conditions. And just to be clear, the conditions are hours of 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. with no significant noise.
Hours 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., no significant noise, access to Bertini Lane for residents, flyers distributed with phone number.
Got it. Okay. And the specific list of holidays, which we just covered. Okay. Councilor Cohen moves to be granted with conditions. All those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. And we'll go, Councilor Prosnowski, you want to make a motion to go back out of order to page, back in order to page 4?
Make a motion to go back into orders, beginning at page 4.
All right, we're going back in order to page 4, seeing no objection. Hearings.
With a public hearing on the issue of allocating the local property tax levy among the 4 property classes for the fiscal year 2025 in the residential open space and small commercial exemption options.
I will now turn it over to Mayor Pangallo and Stephen Cortez.
Thank you, councilors. So I'll start by saying thank you to the staff and the assessing department, Steve, you and your team, to the board members on the Board of Assessors. Thank you for all that you do, and to our finance director, Anna Friedman. Stephen's going to present a more detailed presentation, so I'm going to keep my introduction brief. As you know, this is the time of year when the City Council votes to approve the tax rate, which is effectively deciding how we pay for the budget that was approved back in the spring. This year, the proposal that's been submitted to you will result in a median single-family tax bill increasing by 1.8%, median condo tax bill by 2.1%, and a median commercial tax bill by 3.3%. As a comparison, the budget increase for FY25 was 4.4%. We use a lot of tools to try to mitigate how much taxes will increase. For example, tonight before you, you also have orders applying free cash and receipts from a number of city enterprises to reduce the total amount that we need to raise through taxation. In all, those orders will save Salem taxpayers around $2.5 million. New growth is also critically important to mitigating tax levels. This year, new growth will generate $1.2 million in new taxes for the city, slightly outpacing the $1 million benchmark that we had estimated at the start of the fiscal year. We could put those numbers into perspective on the other side of the ledger. This fiscal year, our fixed costs increased by $6.5 million. So without growth, without non-tax receipts, Salem taxpayers would be on the hook for all of that increase. But with growth and with those receipts, we're able to meet more than half of those fixed costs without adding to our existing taxpayers' burden. And that's one of the reasons that growth is so important to our community, because of the financial stability that it provides. As the fiscal year moves forward and we look to the future, we'll continue to leverage tools like receipts, free cash, and new growth, as well as opportunities from grant funding instead of tax dollars for as many projects and cost centers as we can. All of this helps keep a relatively lower tax bill increase compared to many other comparable communities. Again, Stephen's going to go into the details on this, but the average single-family tax bill under this proposal will increase by $160 in Salem. In Danvers, it's increasing $176, $242 in Marblehead, $255 in Lynn, $335 in Beverly, and $419 in Peabody. Among the 9 communities around us on the North Shore, Salem is the only one with a 5-year average tax bill increase of under $200 per year. This professional and well-managed approach to our city's finances and to the tax dollars entrusted to us have helped us secure, once again this year, awards from the Government Finance Officers Association, and just a few weeks ago, as you were notified, a reaffirmation by S&P of our historic bond rating. I'm grateful for the council's partnership in maintaining the healthy and strong financial foundation that we enjoy in Salem. And I look forward to continuing to work alongside you to maintain that. So thank you very much. And I will turn it over to the city assessor.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, council members. I would like to start by introducing myself and the assessing team for the public viewers watching or who are here tonight, and councilors who might be new or have not gone through the classification process, and to briefly explain some of the assessing department's duties throughout the year which brought us here. I'm Stephen Cortez, Director of Assessing. Tonight, we have 2 of our board members in attendance, Bob Millerick and Tina Zolano, along with the 2 assistant assessors, Jim Bond and Jim Hall. We operate on a fiscal year which runs from July 1st to June 30th. Throughout the year, we have conducted about 1,400 property inspections for reasons such as recent building permitted work, sales, and the DOR mandated cyclical inspection program, which is an attempt to inspect every property on a 9 to 10 year basis. Within that amount of time, things can change or grow depending on maintenance and or depreciation. We also gather information about the different class of properties by utilizing our sales verification forms, income and expense forms, and the personal property forms of list. The information presented to you tonight is an accumulation of the vast data we've gathered and is a reflection of the market during a snapshot of time. We tend to provide detailed explanations to ensure nothing is overlooked and can give a clear view of the bigger picture. That said, I've taken feedback into account and will not be reading every figure this year. While the packet contains a lot of information, I'll focus on the key points as we move through the slides. My hope is that the additional details offer valuable context and a broader understanding. Page 2, tax classification. Purpose of the classification hearing is to provide the city council with the necessary information to make policy decisions in accordance with Chapter 40, Section 56 of the Massachusetts General Laws as amended by Chapter 200 of Acts 1988. This law allows cities and towns to shift the tax burden among the major property classes within certain legal limits. The residential factor determines the percentage of the tax levy assigned to the residential class, with the remainder shifted to the commercial, industrial, and personal property or CIP class. The minimum residential factor established by the Commissioner of Revenue is used to make certain that the shift of the tax burden complies with the Classification Act. For fiscal year 25, it is recommended that the City Council adopt the minimum residential factor of 0.862149 for the City of Salem. The Council must also vote on 3 other tax options: open space discount, residential exemption, and a small commercial exemption. This year is an interim certification year, which is every 5 years, and the assessments have already been approved by the Department of Revenue. The statistical data presented herein is intended to assist the City Council in its recommended decisions for the tax rate shift in the 3 options I mentioned. Page 3, key terms. Here are some key terms you will see in the presentation. The levy. The property tax levy is the revenue a community can raise through real and personal property taxes. Levy limit. The maximum amount a community can levy each year equal to last year's levy plus 2.5%, plus new growth and any debt exclusions or override if applicable. If you hold on one second while they get the slide up for the viewers. And we are on page 3, key terms, yes. Yes, thank you. Levy ceiling. The maximum amount the levy limit can be in a given fiscal year equal to 2.5% of the total full and fair cash value of all taxable real and personal property in the community. The levy limit is equal to the lesser of the 2. New growth. Increase in the tax base due to new construction, parcel subdivisions, condo conversions, and property renovations, but not due to market revaluation. It is calculated by multiplying the increased assessed value by the prior year's tax rate for the property class. Excess levy capacity is the difference between the actual levy and the levy limit, what a community is legally permitted to bill, and the tax bills to be paid. Page 4, city overview. The first pie chart on the left shows the breakdown of the city's parcel by the major property classes as a percentage. Residential makes up the majority with 88%, followed by personal property with 6%, commercial at 5%, and industrial at 1%. The chart on the right represents a breakdown of all real property, which does not include personal property accounts, and shows a more in-depth view of the classes with parcel counts and their percentage of the citywide total, which is 13,415 parcels. Page 5, analysis. The fiscal year 25 values are based on the value of property as of January 1st, 2024, and were primarily developed from valid arm's length sales from calendar year 23, which do not include foreclosure, family sales, estate sales, etc. Personal property forms of list and income and expense forms for commercial, industrial, mixed use, and apartments with 4 or more units. Under the guidelines of the Department of Revenue and Massachusetts General Laws, assessors are required to assess property at 100% full and fair cash value. This means all assessed values must reflect the market, i.e. what properties are selling for. Size, type, year built, and the quality of construction, number of rooms, kitchens and baths, fireplaces, types of heating systems, etc., are all examples of the data listed on individual property record cards before the valuation process can begin. Assessors may not have to go inside each property before every revaluation if records are kept up to date and building permits are checked and recorded for changes on individual properties. Finding the full and fair cash value or market value of a property involves discovering what similar properties are selling for. what the property would cost today to replace, and what financial factors such as interest rates may be affecting the real estate market. Valuation techniques for commercial and industrial properties also include analysis from an investment point of view, since the purchase price the buyer is willing to pay depends on part of the return they expect to receive. Like property is extrapolated and compared within that class, are apples to apples. Sales in calendar year 23, which are used to determine FY 25 values. There were 433 sales utilized, including 2 years of sales for multi-mixed use industrial and land, 101 single-family sales, 211 residential condo sales, 100 multifamily sales, 16 commercial and industrial sales, and 5 other mixed sales. We had 156 less sales than the prior year, or minus 26%, specifically with the single family and residential condos. Page 6, analysis adjustments. The market analysis resulted in the following general adjustments made. Single family properties increased in value by 4.7%. Residential condos increased in value by 5.8%. Two-family properties increased in value by 7.4%. Three-family properties increased by 8.3%. Apartment buildings with 4 or more units increased by 15.7%. Personal property accounts increased in value by 9.1%. Industrial properties increased by 6.9%. And commercial properties increased in value by 8.9%. We analyzed arm's length sales that occurred during the calendar year 23, reflecting post-pandemic market conditions influenced by rising interest rates. While the number of single-family and residential condo sales have declined compared to last year, resulting in a more modest overall increase, we observed sales prices exceeding listing prices, particularly for residential apartment buildings. Investors are capitalizing on the opportunities in Salem to convert multifamily properties into condo units, as evidenced by 24 more condo conversions this year than last. Additionally, the overall value increase for apartment buildings with 4 or more units appears skewed due to the reclassification of major projects and the addition of formerly exempt properties now becoming taxable. Commercial and industrial property values increased by 8.9% and 6.9% respectively, which is consistent with the overall city-wide increase of 7%. Industrial properties continue to experience growing demand, particularly for manufacturing and shipping needs, driving their values higher. Salem's limited supply further pushes prices upwards for those seeking ownership in the city. A key factor contributing to the annual adjustment is due to the power plant agreement. Personal property accounts increase annually, primarily based on the utility accounts via appraisals and the DOR's reported values. It is important to note that these are overall statistical values for each major property class. Individual value changes will vary depending on the specific property data, style, condition, upkeep, depreciation, new construction, location, the amenities, etc. Overall, the city saw an increase in total value of $606,664,081, or 7%. Page 7, value comparison. This table is a comparison of the last fiscal year's values, FY24 versus FY25. These values and the changes represents the entire class, not individual parcels. Highlighted in yellow are the major classes with columns 3, 4, 5, and 6 representing the parcel count and assessed value, and the last 4 columns showing the differences between them. As shown in the last slide, the percentage difference in value is identified in the far right column. At the bottom, shaded blue are the major classes as a whole. Page 8, values by class. This table shows the fiscal year 25 values by class. In the row titled Totals, you will find the values for each of the 4 major class codes, starting with Class 1 for residential. Salem does not have a Class 2 open space. Class 3 is commercial, and Class 4 is industrial. Personal property assessed totals are below that to the left, and the city's taxable value of $9,282,354,028 is at the bottom right. Page 9, percentage of value by class. Shown here are FY24 versus FY25 comparable display. The residential class makes up 83.93% of the total city value. Commercial makes up 7.87%, industrial 4.87%, and personal property 3.33%. Again, the value difference from last year is 7%, or $606,664,081. The bar graph at the bottom illustrates a rebound to the sustained changes in value observed prior to the pandemic. It's worth noting that 2020 values were elevated due to the power plant coming online. Page 10, assessed value history. Here is a line graph showing the assessed value history from 1994 to 2025. You can see the dip where the recession happened and the rebound after that affected the residential values and contributes to climb. Page 11, new growth. Throughout the year, the assessing department reviews and captures new growth value, due mostly to new construction, as well as parcels subject to taxation for the first time, such as subdivisions or condominium conversions, new personal property, and parcels that were previously exempt. It does not include value increase caused by normal market forces or by revaluation. New growth is submitted to the Department of Revenue for review and certification. City of Salem saw a total of $76,685,300 in new growth value that included but was not limited to 61 new condo conversions, 10 new residential parcels formerly exempt, and 1 new commercial parcel. 1 expired TIF property is now fully taxable, 43 new personal property accounts, large construction projects which include 1 and 2 Leaford Terrace, 266 Canal Street, 64 Grove Street, 142 Canal Street, 4 Technology Way, 160 Federal Street, and 13 Hawthorne Boulevard. The top 10 FY25 residential growth properties, including the condo conversions, make up 40% of the total growth value. As with most years, personal property accounts bring in substantial amount of new growth tax dollars due mostly to the utility and telecom accounts. The DOR approved new growth value resulted in $1,221,612 tax dollars. That is tax dollars in allowable tax levy growth. This amount is used in calculating the levy limit for FY25. Page 12, new growth examples. This slide provides a sample of the growth property mentioned displayed by growth value rather than tax dollars. Page 13, growth by class. Here's the fiscal year 25 new growth broken down into class and tax dollars. The first box is the residential breakdown showing the new growth value, the tax dollars from that growth, and the percentage that makes up the residential class. The second box contains the commercial, industrial, and personal property growth value, tax dollars, and the percentage of the CIP total. The last box and graph represent the overall new growth totals. Page 14, historic growth. This bar graph represents the growth in tax dollars over the years starting from 2015. Again, the year 2020 was higher due to the power plant construction. Salem is a very old city with most of its land being utilized. At this point, most new growth comes down to property owners repurposing existing sites and reclassification. Page 15, determining the tax levy and the breakdown of the city budget. First, we start with the total budget and other articles approved by the City Council starting back in June of 2024, which is $218,293. Then you minus out the state aid, local receipts, enterprise CPA funds, and other revenues, and that will leave you with the amount remaining to be collected from property taxes. This is the tax levy, which is $122,087,299. The pie chart to the right shows each as a percentage of the total budget. Page 16, the levy limit. This slide explains the levy limit. Proposition 2.5 limits the amount of revenue a community can raise through real and personal property taxes, tax levy, from year to year. The maximum amount a community can levy in any given year is called the levy limit. Under Proposition 2.5, a community's levy limit increases automatically by 2 factors. 1, an incremental increase of 2.5% of the prior year's levy limit. 2, a dollar amount derived from the value of new construction, condo conversions, subdivisions, and other growth in the local tax base since the previous year, or new growth. The community can also assess additional taxes to pay the debt service, principal and interest costs for specific capital projects, for example, a school. This additional amount, debt exclusion, is added to the levy limit for the life of the debt. The combined total is referred to as the maximum allowable levy. The maximum allowable levy for FY25 is $130,115,164. Again, the estimated levy for FY25 from the previous slide is $122,087,299. This leaves the excess levy capacity of $8,027,865. This is the difference between the maximum property tax revenue a community is legally permitted to bill and the tax bills paid. To the right are the calculations. Page 17, historic levy limits and excess levy capacity. These tables show the history of the levy limits and excess levy capacity over the last 2 decades. The historic tax levy has remained relatively steady while the excess levy capacity has been increasing over the years. Again, this is the difference between what we could be raising and the amount actually levied. We haven't collected close to the full levy limit in over 15 years. Page 18, the City Council is here tonight to take a vote on the following. 1, the selection of a residential factor recommended at 0.862149, which is a 1.72 CIP shift. 2, open space discount option. 3, residential exemption option. And 4, small commercial exemption option. Page 19, minimum residential factor. Starting with the minimum residential factor, the City Council must vote to determine the percentage of the tax levy to be paid by each class of real and personal property for the fiscal year. In determining these percentages, the council must first adopt a residential factor that must be in an amount not less than the minimum residential factor calculated by the Commissioner of Revenue. The residential factor adopted governs the percentage of tax levy to be borne by residential property owners. It does not change the total tax levy or the assessed values. An MRF of 1 would result in a single tax rate. As shown in the calculation below, the single tax rate for fiscal year 25 would be $13.54 across all property classes. A factor lower than 1 would shift more of the tax burden to the commercial, industrial, and personal property parcels. Historically, Salem has adopted a split tax rate, with 1 rate applied to the residential properties and the other to the commercial, industrial, and personal properties. For fiscal year 25, it is recommended that the City Council adopt a minimum residential factor of 0.862149 for the City of Salem. The following slides illustrate how the MRF shift will impact the major property classes using the overall median as a base. It is important to note that individual property tax bills will vary due to factors such as sales, changes, and renovations. Page 20, median single-family tax bill. With a recommended shift for fiscal year 25, the median single-family tax bill will increase by $116 compared to last year. The single-family tax bill increased by 1.8% for the fiscal year 25, with a 5-year average increase of 3%, despite single-family residential values rising by 4.7% as shown on page 7. Page 21, median residential condo bill. For FY25, the median residential condo tax bill increase is $106. Like the single-family class code, the residential condo bill increase this year is 2.14%, with a 5-year average of 3%, despite the condo values going up 5.8%. Page 22, median single-family and condo bill. The median single-family tax bill will increase roughly $9.66 per month, and the median residential condo bill will increase by $8.83 per month. Again, single-family and residential condo units make up about 77% of all residential units in the city. Page 23, average single-family tax increase by community. Here's a bar graph comparing the average increase in single-family tax bills for FY25 across neighboring municipalities. This year, Salem's average single-family tax bill has increased by $160, marking the smallest increase. Last year, we ranked 3rd lowest on the list. 38% of Salem single-family homes are assessed above the average, and 62% of Salem's single-family homes are assessed below the average. Our finance department and mayor's office continues to work with the available funds to keep the impact on our primary class to a minimum. Page 24, average single-family tax bill increase municipal comparison. These 2 tables provide a comparison of single-family tax increases over the past 5 years in neighboring municipalities. The table on the left displays the average yearly tax bill, while the table on the right shows the average increase. The 5-year average is compiled on the far right, with the city of Salem ranked at the bottom of the list, showing a $195 average increase in the single-family tax bill. This demonstrates Salem's commitment to maintaining one of the lowest tax increases in the county, reflecting fiscal responsibility and effective budget management throughout the years. Below those two tables is a bar graph depicting the single-family average tax bill increase. Again, you will see Salem has not raised the single-family tax bill as much as the surrounding communities have done over the past 5 years. Page 25, median two-family bill. The median two-family tax bill increase for FY25 is $361. This is a 5.10% increase from last year, despite the total two-family values going up 7.4%. Page 26, median three-family tax bill. The median three-family tax bill increase is $555. This is a 6.62 increase from last year, despite the total three-family values going up 8.3%. Median commercial bill. The median commercial tax bill increase for fiscal year 25 is $330 with the 1.72 CIP shift. This is a 3.25% increase despite the total commercial values going up 8.9%. Page 28. What does it mean to adopt a residential factor? Here is the proposed shift for the major classes. Residential class will assume 72.36% of the share. Commercial class will assume 13.53%, industrial 8.38%, and personal property 5.73% of the share. Page 29, tax levy calculation. Assuming the recommended 1.72 CIP split or 0.862149 minimum residential factor, the residential tax rate will go down to $11.34 per thousand, and the commercial industrial personal property tax rate will go down to $22.62 per thousand. Multiplying the total residential value by the residential tax rate and the total CIP value by the commercial tax rate per thousand gives us the levy. Page 30, tax rate history. This line graph is of Salem's historic tax rates starting from 1991 to today. They are not adjusted for inflation. In general, when the market reflects that sales prices are going up, typically the tax rates go down. However, this is subject to the approved budget and how much is needed to be recouped in tax dollars or the levy. For example, if the budget stayed the same, yet the values went up, the tax rates would go down to generate the same revenue needed. Similarly, if the budget remains unchanged, but property values decrease, the property tax bills will still be the same. Page 31, additional tax rate options. These three tax policy options may also be adopted by communities that have been certified as assessing at full cash value by the Department of Revenue. Open space discount option, small commercial exemption option, and residential exemption option. The choice of either or both of the open space and residential options affect whether the community chooses to shift the tax burden within the residential class. The small commercial option affects the tax rate within the commercial and industrial class. The following pages provide relevant information and data for each option. The Board of Assessors has determined that these options do not pertain to Salem, and such options should not be considered by the City Council. Page 32, open space discount. Open space is defined by Mass General Law, Chapter 59, Section 2A as land which is not otherwise classified and which is not taxable under the provisions of Chapter 61, 61A, or 61B, or taxable under permanent conservation restriction, in which land is not held for the production of income, but is maintained in an open and natural condition and which contributes significantly to the benefit and enjoyment of the public. An exemption of up to 25% could be adopted for property classification and Class 2 open space. Currently, there is only one community in Massachusetts that grants an open space discount, as Salem has no parcels in Class 2. Page 33, small commercial exemption option. An exemption of up to 10% of the total commercial property valuation may be adopted for eligible commercial properties. Granting this exemption raises the commercial tax rate and shifts the commercial tax burden from qualifying properties to an eligible commercial and all industrial properties, not including personal property Class 5. This is a shift only in the commercial and industrial class and does not affect the residential properties in any way. As for the exemption guidelines, the parcel must be occupied as of January 1 by a business with an average annual employment of no more than 10 employees at all locations during the previous calendar year as certified by the Department of Employment and Training. If the property has more than one business, i.e. a strip mall, each business must have fewer than 10 employees for the exemption to be granted. All would have to qualify. Building value cannot exceed 1 million. An exemption is granted to the owner of the real estate, the building owner, not the business owner or the renter, as the law does not require tax relief be passed through to the business owner. Reasons against adopting this exemption. Most businesses in the city of Salem rent or lease their workspace. This would shift the tax burden onto any vacant commercial lot and on all of Salem's industrial properties, which make up the smallest real estate property class with only 98 parcels. This exemption would shift a greater burden onto the higher value properties who already pay a large portion of the total tax share levy, 22%, in addition to the commercial tax rate shift. This hard-to-track exemption is applicable in those communities that have a substantial commercial industrial base with a sufficient number of large employers, one that could sustain an increase without losing or repelling businesses. There are only 14 municipalities out of 352 communities in the Commonwealth that have adopted this exemption. Page 34, residential exemption option. The residential exemption reduces the tax valuation for each residential parcel that is the taxpayer's principal residence, owner-occupied and primary domicile. Granting this exemption raises the residential tax rate for all and shifts the residential tax burden from lower valued and owner-occupied homes to higher valued and non-owner occupied homes, which would experience a substantial increase in taxes. Apartments and multifamily parcels, which are not owner-occupied, would also see a significant higher tax burden. An individual who is granted this exemption could still end up paying more due to the valuation break-even threshold and the higher residential tax rate. Exemption is a misnomer since it's actually a tax shift and provides for a redistribution of the tax levy among residential property owners only within the residential class 1. This would not affect commercial or industrial properties in any way. Adoption of a residential exemption is a benefit only in those communities that have a substantial number of non-primary residences. Only 19 out of 352 communities in the Commonwealth have adopted a residential exemption. Cities and towns that utilize this tax option generally have a large percentage of non-primary residential rental units. Boston, Brookline, Cambridge, or a large amount of resort seasonal tourist rentals, Nantucket, Provincetown, Truro. Analysis into this exemption does not yield an advantageous benefit for the city of Salem. Most of the improved residential parcels are principal residences of the taxpayers on record. Therefore, there is little or no benefit in adopting a residential exemption, one which Salem has never adopted. This program is also very costly to implement and maintain, as there would need to be extra staff associated with the tracking and overseeing non-owner occupied properties, along with opening personal property accounts for second homes and potentially abating them with late filings. This would also largely affect the rental market, as many apartment buildings are not owner-occupied and therefore rents would most likely increase to cover the higher taxes. We currently offer multiple personal exemption clauses for those most in need of financial assistance. Unlike this residential exemption option, a personal exemption clause granted would not have the major domino effect, as this option essentially pits the haves versus the have-nots. Page 35, exemptions. So those are the three options you're voting on tonight. However, before we end, I would just like to step aside for a brief moment to highlight the current exemption clauses and programs the city has to offer. A personal exemption or clause exemption is a release from the obligation to pay all or a portion of the taxes assessed on your property. They are based on the personal circumstance of the property owner as of July 1st, 23. The Massachusetts legislature has enacted the following clause exemptions, which, if granted, will be a deduction on the third and fourth quarter tax bill. Applicants must own and occupy their homes as well as meet any and all qualification criteria as of this date. With limited exceptions, you may only receive one exemption under Mass General Law each fiscal year. The table on the right shows the exemption clauses, a little description of each and the amounts able to be deducted, which fluctuate based on what was paid in the prior fiscal year. There are three means tested or income qualifying exemptions: the 17D, which is an asset qualifying exemption for widows, minors, and seniors 70 years or older; the 41C, which is an income and asset qualifying exemption for seniors 65 years or older. The limit for each are listed on the left side text box and the CPA exemption for low-income persons of any age or low to moderate income seniors 60 years or older. The Senior Tax Exemption Program, or STEP, utilizes the circuit breaker credit granted from the state when filing your 23 taxes. Half of what you were granted by the state is used as your local exemption. We also offer an exemption for the blind, an exemption for widows or minor property owners of fallen firefighters and police officers killed in the line of duty. And then we have a few clauses for disabled veterans, their surviving spouses, and Gold Star parents. In addition to these clauses, we offer the option for seniors 65 years or older to defer all or a portion of their taxes, which is then due upon sale of a property or when a homeowner passes away. And lastly, the Senior Workoff Program is available for income qualifying seniors 60 years or older to sign up with the Council of Aging starting in January to be a volunteer and offer their skills-related services within city departments. I find this program not only beneficial for the departments they work in, but also for the participating seniors who are able to put their accumulative knowledge to use and best of all, get a reduction on their taxes. In conclusion, the purpose of this hearing is to establish the portion of the tax levy share by the residential and commercial class property. The assessor's role in this process is to determine the values based on use of all properties in the city, determine the amount of new growth in the property taxation each year, and determine the amount needed to be reserved for abatements and exemptions in the overlay account. Our values in new growth have already been set and approved by the Massachusetts Commissioner of Revenue. In June, the City Council started conducting budget hearings and approved, reduced, or rejected the recommended appropriations brought forth to run municipal government. These decisions determined if the property tax collected for fiscal year 25 would be higher or lower than the property tax collected for fiscal year 24, though the tax levy. The assessing department, as always, is open to discussing with those that need assistance, any applicable exemptions or deferral program. We encourage all interested to visit our website for this information, plus more available details at salem.com/assessors, where we can be reached by email, or we are always available by phone, or you can stop by anytime during City Hall business hours, no appointment needed, and our staff will be happy to assist you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cortez. Any questions from the council or comments? Councilor Morcillo.
Thank you, President. Thank you, Stephen, for this. Two things. One is a comment that thank you for doing the information session on the exemptions. I tried to go to it, but I couldn't make it. But I really appreciate that you did that. And I hope that it was successful and that people found the information very helpful and that they applied if they qualified.
It was very helpful. And we will be doing that either annually or biannually going forward.
That's great. Thank you. I had one other question that was just a comment about the new growth. I think the anticipated new growth was something around 221,000 and the real is 1 million more. And I'm just wondering what was that?
Yeah. So initially, we want to be conservative with how much we anticipate new growth to be for budgetary reasons. I think, Anna, do you want to say something about that?
Thank you. Just to provide some clarity, the budget presented to the council in the spring and May assumed new growth of $1 million. And then the additional was around the 221,000. And what happens is that we have a little bit of a timing gap there where Stephen and the Board of Assessors are still, they're still sort of fine tuning some of those numbers. So we try to take as solid as a sort of foundation we can to build spending against for the budget presentation. So the past couple of years, that's been around $1 million based on historical trends. Okay, thank you.
Councilor Wazenfeld.
Thank you, President Hapworth. Actually, Anna, you may be the one to answer this question, but just to both of you, and it's only slightly off topic. One of the items listed under new growth is this expired TIF property that's now fully taxable. And I just think that for the public, it's always a good idea to just close the loop on that, because we talk, when TIFs come before the council, we talk a lot about how the scaling and the rates over years, and that we eventually recoup this money and what portions get paid now versus not. And I think it is always a point of a little bit of confusion for folks. And so as TIFs come back on, or TIFs expire and full rates are being paid, I think it's a really good thing to point that out. So in this instance, do you happen to know which property it was for and how much that added to this last year?
Yes, that was for 4 Technology Way. And that should be on page. I'm sorry, I did not include that on any of my pages. I can get that information to you, but it was 4 Technology Way, and you are correct that when TIFs expire, they're fully taxable, and that's when you will see, the majority of the growth that comes in. Sure, over time, while in the life of the TIF, there's little growth that comes, especially. It determines, it depends on the percentage that is voted on per year. But typically as it winds down, it gets smaller and smaller.
Yes.
Which means that the growth gets bigger and bigger.
And just as a point of clarification, you do not count at those years where the taxable income to us increases in steps. That's not included in new growth until it's 100% fully back.
No, it is.
It is.
Each little bit is growth.
But is it usually called out in your presentation?
What's in my presentation are usually the major ones.
The 100%.
And over the years, it's like little until it gets to the end. As for the most part, most of the TIFs are like, maybe 100, then 90, then 30, then so it gets bigger and bigger. So I only include the biggest one, the biggest producers of growth for that in my packet.
Yeah.
So that's why they don't really make it to the packet until the end.
Yeah. I just think that thank you for that. And I really appreciate this entire presentation, all the work that I know you and the team have done to produce this. And of course, we're such big fans of both yours and Anna for all the work that you do every year. Salem's books are pretty tight. It's just for the public's awareness. This annual conversation is often where you will see sort of the closing of the loop on those TIF projects coming back around again. So if you are a person who is often confused or unsure about the TIF decisions that get made in council, watch this annual space. This is the meeting where you get to see that new growth come back online. So I appreciate you calling that out. Thank you.
And if I can add to that, that help new growth, as I mentioned in all of this, helps lower the tax rate. So it will eventually come back to this point.
Thank you, Mr. Cortez.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Councilor Cohen.
Thank you, President Hapworth. Thank you for the brief presentation. I noticed that condos are now within 5% of the total quantity of single-family homes. And if you look at the rate of condo expansion versus single-family homes, it's only going to be a couple of years before that changes. Condos become, at the rate we're on now, it's only a few years until residential condos will overtake single-family homes as quantity in Salem, correct?
That's quite possible.
And is that something that you think will have a adverse effect on the?
I can only speak to the assessments. I am not sure if I can answer any more beyond that.
That's fine. I think that there are a lot of people in Salem who do create or purchase condos and then end up renting them. Does that have any effect on the value of the?
No, rentals, as far as renting a single family, a condo, we go by sales.
Okay.
So if they sell, then yes, renting one does not affect the assessment.
Further discussion? Seeing none, thank you, Mr. Cortez.
Thank you, Council.
As this is a public hearing, anyone else appearing in favor, please make your way to the podium or raise your hand. We'll allow you to speak on Zoom. Anybody on Zoom who would like to appear in favor? Seeing none. Anyone appearing in opposition, please make your way to the podium or raise your hand if you'd like to speak on Zoom. Seeing none. Councilor Merkel.
Thank you, President Hapworth. I move to close the public hearing.
Councilor Merkel moves to close the public hearing. All those in favor? Any opposed? Hearing is closed. Thank you. Further, oops, I'm going to go past page 5. Further hearings on page 6.
We have an order from National Grid to install conduits on Union Street for a property at 13 Hawthorne Boulevard. That has been withdrawn by National Grid.
All right. On page 7, appointments and reappointments.
We have held from the last meeting the mayor's appointment of John Inkowitz to the position of Director of Technology and Innovation, effective on September 16, 2024, with a term to expire on September 15, 2026.
I'll note that Councilor Morsillo has recused herself. Councilor Varela.
Thank you, President Hapworth. I move for confirmation by roll call vote.
Councilor Varela moves for confirmation by roll call vote. Under discussion.
Thank you, Councilor. Thank you, President. I'm glad to see this position of technology, Director of Technology Innovation, be actually put forward, and I'm looking forward to John's work.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, on the motion for confirmation by roll call vote, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Cohen?
Yes.
Councilor Davis?
Yes.
Councilor Harvey?
Yes.
Councilor Jerslow?
Yes.
Councilor Merkel?
Yes.
Councilor Presnewski?
Yes.
Councilor Stott?
Yes.
Councilor Varela?
Yes.
Councilor Watson Felt?
Yes.
And Councilor Hapworth.
Yes. On the mayor's appointment of John Inkowitz to the Director of Technology and Innovation, term to expire September 16th, 2024. We have 10 councilors voting, 1 absent. The matter carries. I'm sorry, 10 councilors in favor, 1 absent. Councilor Varela.
Thank you, President. If John is here, we'd like to suspend the rules to allow you to speak.
Seeing no objection.
Hi, I just want to say thank you all for appointing me the position. Thank you to the mayor, Bobby, my previous director, now deputy director. Thank you and everybody. Hopefully we can work together and improve this situation.
Thank you.
Sure, you'll be hearing from all of us.
Glad you're here tonight.
I'll note that Councilor Morsillo has rejoined us. Further appointments and reappointments.
We have held from the last meeting the mayor's appointment of Zachary Calderon of 21 Cabot Street to the Sustainability, Energy, and Resiliency Committee with a term to expire July 14th, 2025.
Councilor Cohen.
Thank you, President Hapworth. I move for confirmation by roll call vote.
Councilor Cohen moves for confirmation by roll call vote. Under discussion.
Yeah, thank you. Zach is a really impressive person. He works for the Ipswich Watershed. While I was the vice chair of the committee, we had people from the watershed come. It's become something really important that we and other communities that are involved have to get a handle on. And Zach has already become involved in many climate and environmental groups, and I think he's going to be a real asset to the committee.
Any further discussion? Councilor Merkel.
Thank you, President Hapworth. Quickly, I'd just like to mention that I've had the pleasure of meeting with Zach, and I'm grateful for the passion and expertise he brings to the CERC committee. Thank you.
There's Kyle. Councilor Davis.
Thank you, President Ty. Hapworth. I also had the privilege of having a coffee with Mr. Calderon earlier in the year and was just blown away by the depth of knowledge when it comes to transportation, urban planning, climate resiliency. So he's going to make a really great addition to the to CERC, and I'm excited to work with him next year.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, on the motion for confirmation by roll call vote, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Cohen?
Yes.
Councilor Davis?
Yes.
Councilor Harvey?
Yes.
Councilor Jerslow?
Yes.
Councilor Merkel?
Yes.
Councilor Marcillo?
Yes.
Councilor Presnewski?
Yes.
Councilor Stott?
Yes.
Councilor Varela?
Yes.
Councilor Watson Felt?
Yes.
And Councilor Hapworth.
Yes. Mayor's appointment of Zachary Calderon to CERC with the term to expire July 14th, 2025. We have 11 councilors voting, 11 in favor, none opposed. The matter carries. Councilor Cohen.
Thank you, President Hapworth. I move that we suspend the rules to allow Mr. Calderon to address the committee.
Seeing no objection. And Zach, I apologize. You're usually out of here by like 7:15. This is a unique kind of night.
Thank you all so much for this opportunity. The climate change crisis and conservation and resiliency has always been something that's very important to me. I think that there's a lot of really important issues that have to be championed, but we need a habitable planet to champion them from. And local action is as important now as it is ever. And so I'm very much looking forward to contributing and working with everyone. So,
Thank you, Zach. Further appointments and reappointments.
We have held from the last meeting the mayor's reappointments of the following with their terms set forth below.
Councilor Varela.
Thank you, President Hapworth. I move for confirmation by roll call vote.
Councilor Varela moves for confirmation by roll call vote. Under discussion.
Thank you, President Hapworth. Just wanted to thank all these commission members for their continued advocacy for our city. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none on the motion for confirmation by roll call vote, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Cohen?
Yes.
Councilor Davis?
Yes.
Councilor Harvey?
Yes.
Councilor Gerslow?
Yes.
Councilor Merkel?
Yes.
Councilor Marcillo?
Yes.
Councilor Prosnewski?
Yes.
Councilor Stott?
Yes.
Councilor Varela?
Yes.
Councilor Watson Felt?
Yes.
And Councilor Hapworth?
Yes. Mayor's reappointment of the following. Felipe Zamberlini to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund Board. Ezekiel Holt to the Commission on Disabilities. Del Negro. Lucia Del Negro, John Russell, Michaela Short, Julie Potier-Brown, and Rebecca Fisher. We have 11 councilors voting, 11 in favor, none opposed. The matter carries. Further appointments and reappointments.
We have the mayor's appointment of Megan Montgomery of 45 Federal Street to the Community Preservation Committee with a term to expire on May 10th, 2026.
Councilor Watson-Felt.
Thank you, President Hapworth. I move that this be held under the rules.
Councilor Watson-Felt moves this be held under the rules. All those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Further appointments and reappointments.
We have the mayor's appointment of Robert Zach Zanzone of 91 Essex Street to the Cemetery Commission with a term to expire February 1st, 2025.
Councilor Gerslow.
Thank you, President Hapworth. I move this be held under the rules.
Councilor Gerslow moves to be held under the rules. All those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Further appointments and reappointments.
We have the mayor's reappointment of John Hayes of 13 Hancock Street to the Sustainability, Energy, and Resiliency Committee with a term to expire on December 6, 2027.
Councilor Cohen.
I move this is held under the rules.
Councilor Cohen moves to be held under the rules. All those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Communications from the mayor.
We have an order that the sum of $8,303,479.95 is hereby appropriated from general fund balance reserved for free cash to the following special revenue fund: stabilization, capital improvement fund, and other post-employee benefits.
All right, here goes with the Councilor Merkel show. Councilor Merkel.
Thank you, President Hapworth. I move for a suspension of the rules.
Councilor Merkel moves for suspension of the rules. Seeing no objection. Councilor Merkel.
Thank you. I move for adoption.
Councilor Merkel moves for adoption. Under discussion.
Thank you. The Massachusetts Department of Revenue has certified the free cash for Salem for fiscal year 2024, and our fiscal policies call for these allocations.
Any further discussion? Seeing none. On the motion for adoption, all those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Councilor Merkel.
Thank you, President Hapworth. I move for immediate reconsideration in hopes that it will not prevail.
Councilor Merkel moves for immediate reconsideration. Hopes it will not prevail. All those in favor? Any opposed?
Opposed.
Matter does not prevail. Further communications from the mayor.
We have an order that the sum of $3,278,783 shall be raised and appropriated from the City of Salem General Fund for the purpose of supporting the fiscal year 2025 Trash Enterprise Fund expense subsidy, which represents the amount to be raised less operational expenses.
Councilor Merkel.
Thank you, President Hepworth. I move for suspension of the rules.
Councilor Merkel moves for suspension of the rules. Seeing no objection, Councilor Merkel.
Thank you. I move for adoption by roll call vote.
Councilor Merkel moves for adoption by roll call vote. Under discussion.
This is a housekeeping measure required by the Massachusetts Department of Revenue. It's not an addition or change to the fiscal year 2025 city budget. It was already accommodated in our budget.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, on the motion for adoption by roll call vote, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Cohen?
Yes.
Councilor Davis?
Yes.
Councilor Harvey?
Yes.
Councilor Jerslow?
Yes.
Councilor Merkel?
Yes.
Councilor Marcillo?
Yes.
Councilor Prosnewski?
Yes.
Councilor Stott?
Yes.
Councilor Varela?
Yes.
Councilor Watson Felt?
Yes.
And Councilor Hapworth?
Yes. Appropriation for FY25 of $3,278,783, Trash Enterprise Fund, Expense Subsidy. 11 councilors voting, 11 in favor, none opposed. Matter carries. Further communications from the mayor.
Hold on.
I'm sorry. Councilor Merkel.
Thank you, President Hepworth. Move for immediate reconsideration in hopes that it will not prevail.
Councilor Merkel moves for immediate reconsideration. Hopes to not prevail. All those in favor? Any opposed?
Opposed?
Matter does not prevail. Further communications from the mayor.
We have an order that the sum of $1,999,350 is hereby appropriated from the following receipts reserved for appropriation accounts to reduce the tax rate amount to be raised by taxation when the fiscal year 25 tax rate is set.
Councilor Merkel.
Thank you, President Hepworth. I move for suspension of the rules.
Councilor Merkel moves for suspension of the rules. Seeing no objection, Councilor Merkel.
Thank you. I move for adoption.
Councilor Merkel moves for adoption. Under discussion.
Thank you. As it says in the order, this appropriation will help keep our tax increase as low as possible, reducing the burden on our taxpayers. And these receipts are 0.2% more than that was generated last year, which is good news. And we sweep these receipts collected to offset their costs.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, on the motion for adoption, all those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Councilor Merkel.
Thank you. I move for immediate reconsideration in hopes that it will not prevail.
Councilor Merkel moves for immediate reconsideration. Hopes will not prevail. All those in favor? Any opposed?
Opposed?
Or does not prevail. Further communications from the mayor.
We've an order that the sum of $1,315,778.64 is hereby appropriated from the general fund balance reserved from free cash to the capital improvement fund to utilize fiscal year 24 interest income generated from the city's American Rescue Plan Act.
Councilor Merkel.
Thank you, President Hepworth. I move for suspension of the rules.
Councilor Merkel moves for suspension of the rules. Seeing no objection, Councilor Merkel.
Thank you. I move for adoption.
Councilor Merkel moves for adoption. Under discussion.
Thank you. This is just the interest from the ARPA funds. As it says in the order, this will support future capital projects, and the ARPA funds have been held in an interest-generating account since their receipt.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, on the motion for adoption, all those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Further communications from the mayor.
We've an order that the sum of $852,231.88 is hereby appropriated from general fund balance reserved for free cash to the stabilization fund.
Councilor Merkel.
Thank you, President Hepworth. I move for suspension of the rules.
Councilor Merkel moves for suspension of the rules. Seeing no objection, Councilor Merkel.
Thank you. I move for adoption.
Councilor Merkel moves for adoption. Under discussion.
Thank you. Again, as it says in the order, this will replenish funds previously appropriated from our general stabilization fund, which is our rainy day fund.
Any further discussion? None. On the motion for adoption, all those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Further communications from the mayor.
We've an order that the sum of $594,864 is hereby appropriated within the capital outlay account for the Curtis Memorial Park redevelopment project.
Councilor Merkel.
Thank you, President Hepworth. I move for suspension of the rules.
Councilor Merkel moves for suspension of the rules. Seeing no objection, Councilor Merkel.
Thank you. I move for adoption.
Councilor Merkel moves for adoption. Under discussion.
Thank you. The full cost for this is $1,209,000 and includes CPA funds and community development block grant funds as well. And this long-awaited project includes playground equipment, accessibility enhancements, expansion, and it serves not only the neighborhood, but also the Carleton School.
Any further discussion? Councilor Stott.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to echo that this is a long-awaited project. Very excited to see. This park is a beloved neighborhood park, as I'm sure the Ward 2 counselor will mention, but having a former Carleton student, also very much beloved by the school and high use. So I just want to commend the mayor and the administration for working towards improving this park. I'd also like to do a special shout out to the former Ward 2 counselor. Oh, sorry. That's too fast. Councillor Madore, who really advocated for the improvement of this park. It's one of, I think, the highest used parks by children in the city, and I'm very excited to see this going forward.
Councillor Watson-Phil.
Thanks, President Hapworth. Dear Councillor Stott. No, I joke, but same sentiments here as the Ward 2 counselor. I have to say, the former Ward 2 city councilor did I don't even know how, like a tireless, really consistent, and she really stayed on top of this project even long after that she was no longer the Ward 2 city councilor. As a Carleton parent myself, as Councillor Stott said, and as a Carleton parent, she was as well. I think it's the way that Councillor Madore engaged the school community as well in this, and the neighbors, and it was a really beautiful working group. And I just think that this is a wonderful example, despite how long it has taken to get here. It's a really wonderful example of what can happen when a bunch of residents come together and work really closely together with a lot of vision, and they engage with the city in an open, collaborative way. And it really will be so beautiful and such a wonderful benefit. And so many activities take place there. Everything from small scale neighborhood birthday parties with the under the little gazebo, all the way up to, Carleton's like end of year sort of, fifth grade graduations, and all kinds of things take place in this really special, relatively small public park. So I just a shout out to public parks in general, and of course echoing all the sentiments of Councillor Stott. So thanks to everyone who has been so tirelessly involved in this process. It's really exciting for Ward 2.
Any further discussion? There's definitely something about that park. My kids love that park, and they don't even live near it. And they used to love to when they used playgrounds. They used to love to go to that park. On the motion for adoption, all those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Further communications from the mayor.
We have an order that the sum of $500,000 is hereby appropriated from the fund balance reserved for appropriation free cash account to reduce the tax rate amount to be raised by taxation when the fiscal year 2025 tax rate is set.
Councilor Merkel.
Thank you, President Hapworth. I move for suspension of the rules.
Councilor Merkel moves for suspension of the rules. Seeing no objection, Councilor Merkel.
Thank you. I move for adoption.
Councilor Merkel moves for adoption. Under discussion.
As it says in the order, this is a portion of our free cash to be moved to reduce the burden on our taxpayers.
Any further discussion? Seeing none. On the motion for adoption, all those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Councilor Merkel.
Thank you. I move for immediate reconsideration in hopes that it will not prevail.
Councilor Merkel moves for immediate reconsideration in hopes it will not prevail. All those in favor? Any opposed?
Opposed.
Does not prevail. Further communications from the mayor.
We have an order that the sum of $300,000 shall be raised and appropriated from the City of Salem General Fund for the following fiscal year 2025 supplemental budget appropriations.
Councilor Merkel.
Thank you, President Hapworth. I move for suspension of the rules.
Councilor Merkel moves for suspension of the rules. Seeing no objection, Councilor Merkel.
Thank you. I move for adoption.
Merkel moves for adoption. Under discussion.
Thank you. This increase will cover projected fiscal year 2025 costs for our collective bargaining agreements.
Any further discussion? Seeing none. On the motion for adoption, all those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Councilor Merkel.
Thank you. I move for immediate reconsideration in hopes that it will not prevail.
So Merkel moves for immediate reconsideration in hopes it will not prevail. All those in favor? Any opposed? Matter does not prevail. It's late, getting late. Further communications from the mayor.
We have an order that the sum of $288,345 is hereby appropriated within the capital outlay account to fund infrastructure improvements at Old Town Hall.
Councilor Merkel.
Thank you, President Hapworth. I move for suspension of the rules.
Councilor Merkel moves for suspension of the rules. Seeing no objection, Councilor Merkel.
Thank you. I move for adoption.
Councilor Merkel moves for adoption. Under discussion.
Thank you. This is for phase one of renovations for the Old Town Hall, the exterior work and sustainability and ADA improvements as well. I spoke with Tom Daniels and Julie Barry about this yesterday, and there is extensive information in the backup documentation on this as well, going from page 35 to 43. Julie has been working on these renovations. It's a really exciting project. They include new accessible ADA entrance to the basement with bathrooms are an ADA entrance from Essex Street, from the Essex Street entrance, ADA access and safety. There's only one egress anyone can use that has a mobility device, or if they use mobility assistance. There'll be security improvements, storm windows, so lots of good stuff going on here. And some grants have a June 30th deadline. We need to get the contractor in an executed agreement within 45 days from November 21st, because we don't want to jeopardize the grant funds that have been secured for this for over $875,000. They are also pursuing more grant funds, which will allow some of the funds to go back to the city as well. So I want to thank everyone involved, Tom Daniels, Julie Barry, for all the work that's gone into this great project.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, on the motion for adoption, all those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Further communications from the mayor.
We have noted that as authorized by City Council vote on June 13th, 2024, pursuant to Master General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53E and a half, for the establishment of the revolving funds for fiscal year 2025, the Old Town Hall revolving fund is hereby amended as detailed below.
Councilor Merkel.
Thank you, President Hapworth. I move for suspension of the rules.
Councilor Merkel moves for suspension of the rules. Seeing no objection, Councilor Merkel.
Thank you. I move for adoption.
Councilor Merkel moves for adoption. Under discussion.
Thank you. This is to raise the annual spending cap for this fund. It was at 50,000 and it's moving to 150,000. Old Town Hall they've been successful in raising funds with events there, such as History Alive and Creative Collective, bringing in over 32,000, and they anticipate an increased bookings for next year, at least 10 to 15 events. And the increase allows for more funds to go to the construction project.
Any further discussion? Seeing none on the motion for adoption, all those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Further communications from the mayor.
We have an order that is authorized by City Council vote on June 13th, 2024, pursuant to Master General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53 and a half, for the establishment of the revolving funds for fiscal year 2025. The Winter Island Storage Revolving Fund is hereby amended.
Councilor Merkel.
Thank you, President Hapworth. I move for suspension of the rules.
Councilor Merkel moves for suspension of the rules. Seeing no objection, Councilor Merkel.
Thank you. I move for adoption.
Councilor Merkel moves for adoption. Under discussion.
Thank you. The ceiling for this fund was 50,000, and it's proposed to go to 85,000. The harbor master needs this increase for funds for a matching grant for a new vessel. The harbor master has received a $358,000 port security grant for the construction of a new 25-foot center console patrol response craft to replace an existing one that is no longer viable for use. And this new vessel is being designed to be usable for response in the harbor and waterways around our islands, and to respond to anticipated future port operations. And there's also more information about this in the backup documentation as well.
Any further discussion? Seeing none on the motion for adoption, all those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Further communications from the mayor.
DOR requires that Council Order number 384 that was approved on July 11, 2024 be reapproved. So we have the order that the sum of $64,748.60 is hereby appropriated from the fund balance reserved for appropriation free cash account to the account listed below for the purpose of repairing Peabody Street Park, including the Riverwalk walkway.
Councilor Merkel.
Thank you, President Hapworth. I move a suspension of the rules.
Councilor Merkel moves for suspension of the rules. Seeing no objection, Councilor Merkel.
Thank you. I move for adoption.
Councilor Merkel moves for adoption. Under discussion.
Thank you. This is a housekeeping for what was already approved by us. The Department of Revenue, the timing of the free cash certification requires for this to be reapproved.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, on the motion for adoption, all those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Further communications from the mayor.
We have an order that the sum of $60,261.67 is hereby appropriated within the capital outlay account as a local match to port security grant for the purchase of a fully equipped 25-foot center console boat to replace a 2002 27-foot whaler Vigilant.
Council Merkel.
Thank you, President Hapworth. I move for suspension of the rules.
Council Merkel moves for suspension of the rules. Seeing no objection, Council Merkel.
Thank you. I move for adoption.
Council Merkel moves for adoption. Under discussion.
This is the other piece of the funding for the new vessel that I previously referenced.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, on the motion for adoption, all those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Further communications from the mayor.
We have an order that per Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 64, which allows for municipality to pay for prior fiscal year invoices using current fiscal year appropriations by a 2/3 vote. We request the sum of $7,787.12 of outstanding fiscal year 24 invoices is hereby allowed to be paid from fiscal year 25 electrical department's budget.
Councilor Merkel.
Thank you, President Hapworth. I move for suspension of the rules.
Councilor Merkel moves for suspension of the rules. Seeing no objection, Councilor Merkel.
Thank you. I move for adoption by roll call vote. 2/3 vote needed.
Councilor Merkel moves for adoption by roll call vote. Under discussion.
Thank you. This is a result from the efforts of the Sustainability and Resiliency Department doing due diligence to retrieve old invoices, and they do need to be paid. Details on these are in John Giardi's letter in the backup documentation on page 56.
Any further discussion? On the motion for adoption by roll call vote, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Cohen? Councilor Davis?
Yes.
Councilor Harvey?
Yes.
Councilor Gerslow?
Yes.
Councilor Merkel?
Yes.
Councilor Marcello?
Yes.
Councilor Prosnewski?
Yes.
Councilor Stott?
Yes.
Councilor Varela?
Yes.
Councilor Watson-Felt?
Yes.
And Councilor Hapworth.
Yes. On the Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 64, appropriation $7,787.12, paying FY24 expenses with FY25 funds for electrical department budget. 2/3 vote needed. 11 councilors voting, 11 in favor, none opposed. The matter carries. Further communications from the mayor.
We have an order that the sum of $4,500 is hereby transferred and appropriated from the receipts reserve funds listed below to the Department of Public Services burial account.
Councilor Merkel.
Thank you, President Hapworth. I move for suspension of the rules.
Councilor Merkel moves for suspension of the rules. Seeing no objection, Councilor Merkel.
Thank you. I move for adoption.
Councilor Merkel moves for adoption. Under discussion.
Thank you. These funds are collected for burial plots, and DPS requests these funds periodically to offset costs for upkeep and maintenance at the cemeteries.
Further discussion. Seeing none, on the motion for adoption by roll call vote, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Oh,
I'm sorry, the wrong spot. On the motion for adoption, all those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Halfway through, folks. Further communications from the mayor.
We have an order per Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 64, which allows for municipality to pay for prior fiscal year invoices using current year fiscal year appropriations. We have the amount of $250 to be paid for the Information Technology Department.
Councilor Merkel.
Thank you, President Hapworth. I move for suspension of the rules.
Councilor Merkel moves for suspension of the rules. Seeing no objection, Councilor Merkel.
Thank you. I move for adoption by roll call vote. 2/3 vote needed.
Councilor Merkel moves for adoption. Under discussion.
Thank you. This is a missed invoice because IT thought it had been paid.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, on the motion for adoption by roll call vote, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Cohen?
Yes.
Councilor Davis?
Yes.
Councilor Harvey?
Yes.
Councilor Gerslow?
Yes.
Councilor Merkel?
Yes.
Councilor Marcello?
Yes.
Councilor Prosnewski?
Yes.
Councilor Stott?
Yes.
Councilor Varela?
Yes.
Councilor Watson-Felt? Sorry.
Yes.
Councilor Hapworth?
Yes. Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 64, appropriation $250 to pay FY24 expenses with FY25 funds for IT department. We have 11 councilors voting, 11 in favor, none opposed. Matter carries. Further communications from the mayor.
We have an order to accept the donation from Cummings Property in the amount of $1,000. These funds will be deposited into the taxpayer scholarship account.
Councilor Merkel.
Thank you, President Hepworth. I move for adoption.
Councilor Merkel moves for adoption. Under discussion.
Thank you to Cummings Property for their donation.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, on the motion for adoption, all those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Further communications from the mayor.
We have an order to accept the donation of Kimberly Driscoll's mayoral portrait titled Kimberly Lord Driscoll, Mayor of Salem, Massachusetts, 2006 through 2023. It's a 44 by 36 unframed oil on linen portrait painted by the artist Thomas Darsney, donated by Kimberly Driscoll in November 2024.
Councilor Merkel.
Thank you, President Hepworth. I move for adoption.
Councilor Merkel moves for adoption. Under discussion.
Thank you. It's exciting to see our former Mayor Driscoll's enduring legacy honored with this incredible portrait.
Any further discussion? Councilor Morsell.
Thank you, President. I would like to make an amendment to this, and I would like to amend it to state that the portrait hang outside the council doors, where there's currently a previous mayor's portrait hanging, I believe, for 1 year to give better public access.
I would second that amendment.
The only question I would have with that is that I believe that the donation was made with certain requirements, and that, well, that would be outside. That would be within the mayor's suite, I guess, at that point. So just require that it be within the mayor's suite. Is that correct? I don't have the backup right in front of me. Yeah. Yeah, I guess I would work with the mayor's office to hang it where is appropriate. I don't know that we can order something to be hung in the mayor's office in a certain location. He said he wants it directly over his desk, though. So. Any further? Councilor Merkel.
Thank you. I would like to, I do want to see it in a place of excellent visibility, but I do want to note that there is a gift restriction on this, the portrait to hang in the mayor's office suite in perpetuity. So I think it would be on the mayor to kind of look in what mayor's office suite includes, but I do want to mention that. So I'm not sure if an amendment with the gift restrictions would be something we would want to start to wade in on. I wouldn't have enough knowledge on what the mayor's office wishes and what constitutes, the mayor's office suite with the gift restrictions. And this is in the backup documentation. I just want to put that out there.
I would just add that if the will of the body is that the portrait be publicly viewable, then
right.
we could make within this order, we could make that the council recommends that this be in a place that's viewable by the public. Not something that we're ordering anyone to do, but just a recommendation that we're making from the body.
Yeah. Thank you, President Hapworth. I think that's more appropriate, and I do want to see it somewhere where we can see. But yes,
an amendment from the council to make the place the portrait in a space that is publicly viewable. Is there a second on that amendment?
As a request to hang it.
Yeah. Seconded by Councilor Watson-Feld. Any further discussion? I'm sorry. Let's take a vote on that. All those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Okay. Any further discussion on the order? Councilor Morsell.
I will say thank you, first of all. My initial intention was to try and get it into the council chambers, because I think it would be nice to have a portrait in here that we could all recognize and something that would inspire the young people and residents of Salem. Mayor Driscoll was the first female mayor. She served for 17 years and now has gone on to be the lieutenant governor. I think portraits are important. I think it's important to honor people, and that's why I wanted to make it more visible. And so that was my intention, and I think it's a great portrait. I know it's a tradition for the for previous mayors to have a portrait hung somewhere. Previously, they have hung in city council chambers, like historically. But it's fine as long as it's visible to the public for at least a short period of time. That's my intention. Thank you.
And I would just appreciate that comment. I just want to make sure that we're not heading down a rabbit hole of figuring out where this is going to be hung, because this is just to accept the donation of the portrait. Councilor Watson-Felt.
Thank you, President Hapworth. This will be brief. I completely agree with Councilor Marcello. And I will also add that as an SSU alum, for those that have not seen the portrait yet, the former mayor is also wearing a Salem State pin. So there is a direct community connection being reinforced here as well that I also wanted to call out. I think it's really great for Salem. So agreed.
Any further discussion? Councilor Merkel.
Thank you. I'd like to throw in too, you can also see part of a basketball in the portrait.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, on the motion to for adoption as amended, all those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Further communications from the mayor.
In order that the mayor and the city council accepts the provision of section 4, chapter 73 of the Acts of 1986 for the fiscal year 2025, and that such additional exemptions granted be 100% of the statutory exemption amounts, provided all other qualifications specified in said section 4, chapter 73 of the Acts of 1986 are met.
Councilor Merkel.
Thank you, President Hapworth. I move for adoption.
Councilor Merkel moves for adoption. Under discussion.
Thank you. This needs to be voted on every year, and Salem has accepted these exceptions every year since 2009, giving close to 4,000 exemptions, for which we had heard about it in the presentation, tax exemptions for widows, elderly, veterans, and blind property owners. So happy to see this continuing.
Any further discussion? Seeing none on the motion for adoption, all those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Further communications from the mayor.
We have a resolution to file and accept grants with and from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs for the park program for the redevelopment of Curtis Memorial Park.
Councilor Merkel.
Waive the reading.
Thank you. I move for adoption by roll call vote.
Councilor Merkel moves for adoption by roll call vote. Under discussion.
Thank you. This is the other source of funding for Curtis Park, and the state requires the city council to formally accept it.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, on the motion for adoption by roll call vote, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Cohen?
Yes.
Councilor Davis?
Yes.
Councilor Harvey?
Yes.
Councilor Jerslow?
Yes.
Councilor Merkel?
Yes.
Councilor Marcillo?
Yes.
Councilor Prosnewski?
Yes.
Councilor Stott?
Yes.
Councilor Varela?
Yes.
Councilor Watson-Felt?
Yes.
And Councilor Hapworth.
Yes. The resolution to accept grants with and from Commonwealth of Massachusetts Executive Office, Energy and Environmental Affairs, Park Program, Curtis Memorial Park. We have 11 councilors voting, 11 in favor, none opposed. Matter carries. Further communications from the mayor.
We have an ordinance to amend an ordinance relative to Council on Aging.
Councilor Harvey.
Thank you, President Hapworth. Section 1, Chapter 2, Article 4, Division 7, Council on Aging is hereby amended by replacing the words Council on Aging with the words Council on Aging and Senior Services as they appear in sections 2-831 through 2-836. Section 2, Chapter 2, Article 15, Senior Property Owner Tax Work-Off Abatement Program, Section 2, 2052 Program Guidelines is hereby amended by replacing the words Council on Aging with the words Council on Aging and Senior Services as it appears in this section. Section 3, Chapter 2, Article 4, Division 7, Section 2-836, Director of Council of Aging is hereby further amended by adding the words develop and implement programming that supports seniors, and immediately after the words who shall as appears in this section, Section 4, this ordinance shall take effect as provided by city charter. I move for first passage.
Councilor Harvey moves for adoption for first passage. Any discussion?
Thank you, President Hapworth. This is just some word language change that's for the Council of Aging to add the, as it says here, with the senior services to try to open up some doors as far as grants and stuff like that, and kind of take them out of the umbrella of Parks and Rec.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, on the motion for adoption for first passage, all those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Mayor's informational page.
We have the letter from the mayor with recommendations, of the setting of the current fiscal year tax rate.
Councilor Merkel.
Waive the reading.
Thank you. I move that this be received and filed.
Councilor Merkel had no intention to read that anyways. Councilor Merkel moves this be received and filed. All those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Motions, orders, and resolutions. Councilor Merkel.
Thank you, President Hapworth. City of Salem, December 5th, 2024, City Council regular meeting. Motion, residential factor, determination of the percentage of total taxes to be borne by the 4 classes of property, ordered that the City of Salem adopt a residential factor of 86.2149% for fiscal year 2025. And I move for adoption by roll call vote.
Councilor Merkel moves for adoption by roll call vote. Under discussion.
Thank you. I want to thank Stephen Cortez and Anna Friedman for all their hard work on this. As the mayor had said, the really responsible financial management we have of the city of Salem is a benefit to all of us and a benefit to easing the hardship of the taxes for our communities, for our property owners here in Salem. And thank you. The presentation is always so thorough and informative, and we appreciate all the hard work.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, on the motion for adoption by roll call vote, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Cohen?
Yes.
Councilor Davis?
Yes.
Councilor Harvey?
Yes.
Councilor Jerslow?
Yes.
Councilor Merkel?
Yes.
Councilor Marcillo?
Yes.
Councilor Presnewski?
Yes.
Councilor Stott?
Yes.
Councilor Varela?
Yes.
Councilor Watson Felt?
Yes.
And Councilor Hapworth.
Yes. The residential factor to adopt 86.2149 for FY25. We have 11 councilors voting, 11 in favor, none opposed. Matter carries. Councilor Merkel.
Thank you. I move for immediate reconsideration in hopes it will not prevail.
Councilor Merkel moves for immediate reconsideration. Hopes it will not prevail. All those in favor? Any opposed?
Opposed?
Matter does not prevail. Further motions, orders, and resolutions. Councilor Merkel.
Thank you. City of Salem, December 5th, 2024, City Council regular meeting, open space exemption, ordered that the City of Salem not adopt an open space exemption for fiscal year 2025. And I move for adoption by roll call vote.
Councilor Merkel moves for adoption by roll call vote. Under discussion.
No discussion.
And just as a reminder, this is an adoption not to do this. On the motion for adoption by roll call vote, all those I'm sorry, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Cohen?
Yes.
Councilor Davis?
Yes.
Councilor Harvey?
Yes.
Councilor Jerslow?
Yes.
Councilor Merkel?
Yes.
Councilor Marcillo?
Yes.
Councilor Presnewski?
Yes.
Councilor Stott?
Yes.
Councilor Varela?
Yes.
Councilor Watson Felt?
Yes.
And Councilor Hapworth.
Yes. Open space exemption, not to adopt the open space exemption for FY 2025. We have 11 councilors voting, 11 in favor, none opposed. Matter carries. Councilor Merkel.
Thank you, President Hapworth, City of Salem, December 5th, 2024.
Do the immediate reconsideration first.
Oh, sorry. Move for immediate reconsideration in hopes that it will not prevail.
Councilor Merkel moves for immediate reconsideration. Hopes it will not prevail. All those in favor? Any opposed?
Opposed.
Matter does not prevail. Further motions, orders, and resolutions.
Thank you. City of Salem, December 5th, 2024, City Council regular meeting, residential exemption, ordered that the City of Salem not adopt a residential exemption for fiscal year 2025, and I move for adoption by roll call vote.
Councilor Merkel moves for adoption by roll call vote. Under discussion.
No discussion.
On the motion for adoption by roll call vote, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Cohen?
Yes.
Councilor Davis?
Yes.
Councilor Harvey?
Yes.
Councilor Jerslow?
Yes.
Councilor Merkel?
Yes.
Councilor Marcillo?
Yes.
Councilor Presnewski?
Yes.
Councilor Stott?
Yes.
Council Varela,
Yes.
Council Watson Felt,
Yes.
and Council Hapworth.
Yes. Residential exemption, not to adopt the residential exemption for FY 2025. We have 11 councilors voting, 11 in favor, none opposed. Matter carries. Councilor Merkel.
Thank you. I move for immediate reconsideration in hopes that it will not prevail.
Councilor Merkel moves for immediate reconsideration. The hopes will not prevail. All those in favor? Any opposed?
Opposed.
Matter does not prevail. Further motions, orders, and resolutions. Councilor Merkel.
Thank you. City of Salem, December 5th, 2024, City Council regular meeting. Small commercial exemption ordered that the City of Salem not adopt a small commercial exemption for fiscal year 2025. And I move for adoption by roll call vote.
Councilor Merkel moves for adoption by roll call vote. Under discussion.
No discussion.
Any further discussion? Councilor Stott.
Thank you, President Hapworth. I'd like to take this opportunity as I think the last tax item on the agenda to say my thanks to Anna and Stephen for their presentation and information all year round. The mayor has already left us, but I was going to thank him too. He took out of here quite fast, but thank you very much for your work as always. I'd also like to extend thanks to Councilor Merkel, who chaired us through A&F this year and just ran us through this meeting so smoothly and so prepared. Grateful for your service and your work as well. And thank you all.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, on the motion for adoption by roll call vote, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Council Cohen.
Yes.
Council Davis.
Yes.
Council Harvey.
Yes.
Council Jerslow.
Yes.
Council Merkel.
Yes.
Council Marcillo.
Yes.
Council Presnewski.
Yes.
Council Stott.
Yes.
Council Varela.
Yes.
Council Watson Felt.
Yes.
And Council Hapworth.
Yes. Small commercial exemption, not to adopt the small commercial exemption for FY 2025. We have 11 councilors voting, 11 in favor, none opposed. Matter carries. And- Oh, sorry, Councilor Merkel.
Thank you. Thank you. I move for immediate reconsideration in hopes that it will not prevail.
So Merkel moves for immediate reconsideration. Hopes will not prevail. All's in favor. Any opposed?
Opposed.
Does not prevail.
Motions, orders, and resolutions. Councilor Hapworth.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Committee of the Whole meet with Andrew DeFranzia and Jason Etheridge to discuss the project at Margin Street and the Rule 29 be suspended to carry the matter over into 2025. And I move for adoption.
Councilor Hapworth. Adoption, any discussion?
Yeah, so this is just this is a request from that team and from the mayor to bring this back to the council to update us on the current status of the project or the proposal. We can hold this meeting at the end of December if it works for the body and it works for those who would be attending. It can also be carried forward into January, depending on what everybody would like to do. And I don't think we've sussed that out at this time.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? That it carries.
Further motions, orders, and resolutions. Councilor Stott.
Thank you, President Hapworth. City of Salem, December 5th, 2024. An ordinance to amend an ordinance relative to Article 3, Officers and Employees, Division 2, Mayor, be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Salem as follows. Section 1, Section 2-146, City Annual Report is hereby amended as follows, replacing May 1st with June 1st and adding the following new paragraph. A second report shall be presented to the council no later than March 1st of each year, reporting on details related to the Halloween tourism season, including receipts, expenditures, and other details deemed relevant to the month of October. Section 2, this ordinance shall take effect as provided by city charter, and I move for adoption for first passage.
Mr. Stott moves for adoption for first passage. Under discussion.
Thank you, President Hapworth. So this is to kind of codify the Halloween reporting that we have had for the past 2 years. So it's a little mucky because Halloween is in October and then we roll over to a new year and we want to have the reporting in the new year because we want to have the
Q4 of the year to be closed, so we can include the hotel tax revenue and local sales tax receipts, all of those within the review that we do as a council body from the administration. We've only done this for the past 2 years. It seems to be working well. It seems to be information that both the council is interested in and the public. I don't think what's working well, though, is how we're doing the order each year and how it's dependent upon someone to put in the order, to request this information for the mayor to put it on and put it together. So I've spoken with the mayor. Anna Beth agreed that codifying this and adding it in as an ordinance just creates it to become another report that's submitted to council. And then when it is submitted to council, just like our monthly financial reports, we can choose to meet on them or we can choose not to meet on them. Of course, this year, we're definitely going to choose to meet on it, I'm guessing. So I think it's a good practice for us to have. And now it will be a good practice for those in the future as well to continue, whether whoever is in these seats. I will just say that first part for replacing May 1st with June 1st, just for some additional knowledge, that whole paragraph states that the mayor shall cause to be published an annual report to the city. Said report shall be a comprehensive review of all city functions, receipts, and expenditures. Said report shall be published no later than, proposing June 1st of each preceding year, and shall be available in print and on the city's website. Essentially, this is the budget that we review every year. It has all the departments, receipts, expenditures, the city as a whole. Again, great work by Anna and team. So just correcting that from May 1st to June 1st, and then adding in that second paragraph. It doesn't fall in with the timeline of the budget. I think it's helpful to see it kind of as its own picture. And the past 2 years, the meeting has fallen on February 27th. I think it was the same day each year, ironically. So March 1st seemed to be a reasonable request to have that report filed by.
Any further discussion? Councillor Watson-Felt.
Thank you, President Hapworth. Just 2 comments here. Thanks to Councillor Stott for taking the initiative and doing this and codifying this. I think it is an important meeting that we have every year. And I know for Ward 2 particularly, the residents look forward to participating in this conversation publicly. So much appreciated. It has definitely been a game of who's on first the last couple of years. So glad that this will just now be built into the expectations for the year. The second thing I wanted to say about this, the timing around March, planning for Halloween and haunted happenings begins in Q1, right? So any part of this conversation around giving feedback, the survey results and all of the planning those conversations begin early in the new year. So it's important, in my opinion, that this take place no later than March 1st as well for that same planning purpose. If something were to come up or an idea is on the table or something new would be planned, that's the right time to have that conversation. So just wanted to reiterate that as well. Thanks.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, on the motion for adoption for first passage, all those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. All right, I think I'll have you come, Councillor Prosnowski.
Further motions, orders, and resolutions. Councillor Hapworth.
All right, I have a late file here. Ordered that a grace period be given to public guides for renewals until February 1st, 2025, until the new applications and badges are finalized. Public guides currently licensed in 2024 may give tours in January 2025 using their 2024 badge. I think I need to add a committee on here as well, right? And this is going to go to the committee of the whole. Yeah. Government Services. We'll go Government Services. We'll go to the Committee on Government Services. And can I suspend the rules to explain this? I don't know what there's not debate on this, but I'll move to suspend the rules.
For adoption?
Can I move to suspend the rules on this to discuss it? Sure. Just real quick. So I just want to explain to everyone here, we do have the application process is still underway with the solicitor's office. We expect to have that by the end of the year. So this is just to make this public record for the guides to understand that their badges will be good in January. This is our intention as we move forward as a council. We just don't have that complete at this time. This goes to committee, so I don't know if we need to vote or how we.
Any further discussion? No.
Yeah.
And Councilor Hapworth moves to let's go further. As is committee in a whole for further discussion. Government services, I'm sorry. All those in favor? All those opposed?
Committee reports. Councilor Morcello.
Thank you, President. City of Salem and City Council, December 5th, 2024. The Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs, to whom was referred the matter of an ordinance to amend traffic, Chapter 42, Section 75, resident sticker parking from number 373 to number 390 Essex Street, has considered said matter and would recommend that it remain in committee and roll over. Do we need to do that right now? Roll over according to 29B. Thank you.
On acceptance of the report, all those in favor? Any opposed? Report is accepted. On the recommendation, under discussion.
Thank you, President. So we had a discussion about granting resident sticker parking permits to the residents in this area. Although it wouldn't be right in front of their house, it wouldn't affect that section of Essex Street. They would be allowed to purchase permits in one of the nearby zones. The director of parking, director of transportation was not at the meeting, and so we decided to roll this over into the new year, to keep it in committee, to allow us to get more data from the department.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, on the motion to carry forward via 29B, all those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Further committee reports. Councilor Morcello.
Thank you, President. City of Salem and City Council, December 5th, 2024. The Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs, to whom was referred the matter of carrying matters forward, has considered said matter and would recommend that Rule 29B be suspended so the matters may be carried over into the new year of 2025 for the following items. Let's see, number 437, number 252, number 502, number 502. Yep.
On acceptance of the report, all those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. On the recommendation, under discussion.
Thank you. I was pausing on number 502 because that was the one that I was suggesting maybe it be transferred to the committee of the whole. And I'm not sure whether we want to do that right now or do that later. And the reason is because it's a report on the new resident sticker parking program. So it's not really the ordinance, it's the outcome. And I think it's better in the full council. Madam City Clerk, can we refer that to? Yeah, we were just kind of pausing on how best to do that. No, I think we did just carry it over at that point, right? Okay.
It could happen first thing in the new year.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. We decided to discharge the ordinance pertaining to Green Lawn Cemetery and the request from Alex Diffenbach on the banning of no-knock warrants. So the other three will be rolled over.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, on the.
Can I just, I'm sorry.
Councilor.
I do want to take just a moment to thank the members of the OLA committee. It's a lot of work during the year, and there's a lot of meeting time, and I appreciate everyone. All the new members came up to, I think everyone except for Councilor Cohen was new to, at least to the committee this year. And everybody came up to speed very quickly and was very, participated very well. And I just want to thank you. It's a lot of work and I appreciate it.
Any further discussion? Councilor Watson-Felt.
I would say ditto back to the chair because running OLA is really hard. There's a lot of research that goes on, a lot of moving parts, a lot of coordination with department heads and due diligence done in advance to drive that ship. And so my thanks to Councillor Marcillo for her chairmanship this year. Thanks.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, on the motion to suspend 29B and carry over numbers 437, 252, and 502, all those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Further committee reports. Councillor Varela.
Thank you, President Hapworth. City of Salem and City Council, December 5th, the Committee on Government Services, to whom was referred the matter of adopting Massachusetts General Law 59, Clause 22I and 22J, relative to the HERO Act, and considered said matter would remain in committee and that we suspend Rule 29B be suspended so the matters can be carried into the new year.
I'll let it be known that Councillor Haworth, a proud veteran, has recused himself from this act. On the acceptance of the report, all those in favor? Opposed? Councillor Varela.
Thank you, President Brosnowski. So just to kind of reframe, so we were joined by Veterans Agent Kim Emmerling, Director of Finance Anna Friedman, the City Assessor Stephen Cortez, and we got to take a deep dive into the HERO Act. So this really comes down to exemptions with some of our veterans that might be eligible for these. So after looking at like the nuts and bolts of this, so when it comes to the order that's in front of us, we have 22I and 22J. So after learning from the assessor, we really cannot adopt 22J. So what the order is going to, the language is going to be, it's going to be that we are going to adopting Massachusetts General Law 5922I and include Section 5 in the final order. And this was from the recommendation of our city solicitor to recommend that we include Section 5. So just to give a little context to what the HERO Act actually does in the legal ramification to the city, we have around roughly 130 veterans that would be eligible for this exemption. And the total cost per year would be $29,000 for a total of $144 close $1,000 for 5 years. So when it comes to the city paying for this, we do have an abatement overlay account for these reasons like this. And after hearing from Anna Friedman and Stephen Cortez, this is something that the city can absolutely handle. So the reason we want this to remain in committee is this will not be adopted until fiscal year 2026. I think we need to have a little more of a thoughtful conversation about this. I don't see the hurry. And also, this is a great benefit for our veterans. It's the least we can do, but I think we just need to have a little more time to think about this. So thank you.
Any further discussion? On Councilor Varela, motion. This be carried forward. This matter be carried forward. All those in favor? Opposed?
Further committee reports. Councilor Varela.
Thank you, President Hapworth. City of Salem and City Council, December 5th, the Committee on Government Services, to whom was referred the matter of an elections commission has considered said matter and would recommend it remain in committee, and that we state that 29B shall be suspended in the matters and may be carried up into the new year of 2025.
On acceptance of the report, all those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. On the recommendation, under discussion.
Thank you, President Hapworth. So I think we're getting closer to actually adopting a home rule petition when it comes to an elections commission. So the reason that we are not going forward with it in 2024 is when it comes to the mayor, our HR department, obviously the clerk's office as well. There's some questions about how we fund a full-time position here. And we need a little more time. And I believe that Mayor Pangallo doesn't necessarily want to be locked into a home rule petition that requires this to be enacted in 2026, fiscal year 2026. So again, we're going to have another meeting about this, get the language right. I'm not going to get into what the changes could be because we can just talk about that in the new year. So for that reason, let's have it remain in committee and get this one right. Thank you.
On the recommendation, any further discussion? Seeing none, on the recommendation that 29B be suspended and this be carried forward into the new year, all those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Further committee reports, Councilor Varela.
Thank you, President Hapworth. City of Salem and City Council, December 5th, the Committee on Government Services, to whom is referred the matter of carrying matters forward, has considered such matter and recommend that the Rule 21B be suspended so that matters may be carried into the new year of 2025. And I recommend losing it.
Specific matters being carried?
So wait, you would say under discussion. Yeah.
Will you just let us know what the specific?
Oh, sorry, we're under discussion. Apologies. So I'll start out with what is going to be discharged, and then we're going to move to what's being carried over. So we decided that number 231, which is meet to discuss ranked choice voting, will be discharged.
So you only need to tell us which ones are just the numbers that are getting carried over. That's
all right. So number 231 and number 533 are going to be discharged. And as far as a carryover,
just the carryover one.
Just the carryover. Sorry, guys. Sorry. I got it now. So for carryover, we're going to do number 12, number 257, number 300, and number 483.
On acceptance of the report, all those in favor? Any opposed? Report is accepted. On the recommendation, under discussion.
Thank you, President Halfworth. Apologies, guys. So I'll start with the discharge. Meet to discuss ranked choice voting, number 231. We have to rethink how we're going to talk about this, and we can always bring it up in the new year. It's a big conversation, very nuanced. Concerning number 533, petition from Dan Robitelli of 39 Crown Street. After discussing this with Councillor Harvey, it seems like there might be another avenue with the city when it comes to Mr. Robitelli in this matter. So respectfully, with the ward council, we decided to discharge this matter. And for carryovers, we have number 12, which is meet to discuss elections commission. I don't need to get into that. We just talked about it. Number 257, meet to discuss the redesign of the city seal. As of now, I believe there's going to be a task force developed to discuss this, which will get back to the committee in 17 months, I believe. So again, we should keep this order in here because they're going to be reporting back to the Government Services Committee. And number 300, discuss marriages in City Hall. This is something that we really haven't talked about, and let's give it an opportunity. And number 483, the HERO Act, which we also discussed as well. Let's give it some time. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, on the motion that 29B be suspended and number 12, 257, 300, and 483 be carried over into the new year. All those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Further committee reports, Councillor Cohen.
Thank you, President Hapworth. City of Salem and City Council, December 5th, 2024. The Committee on Public Health, Safety, and Environment, who was referred the matter of carrying matters forward, has considered said matters and would recommend that Rule 29B be suspended so the matters be carried into the new year 2025. And those would be numbers 461 and 20.
On acceptance of the report, all those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. On the recommendation, under discussion.
Thank you. We're carrying forward 461, which is to discuss noise pollution, and 21, which is to discuss creating a composting ordinance. And we are discharging 2 regarding the specialized code, which we actually adopted in January. and hiring a consultant to audit the current city solid waste contract in preparation of a new contract. Also, discussion of Salem distribution of balloons, which we had several meetings about. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, just be clear, there's numbers 461 and 21 that are being carried forward. Is that right? On 21? On the recommendation that 29B be suspended and 461 and 21 be carried forward. All those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. And Councilor Hepworth.
Further committee reports, Councilor Hapworth.
City of Salem and City Council, December 5th, 2024. The Committee of the Whole, to whom was referred the matter of carrying matters forward, has considered said matter and would recommend that Rule 29B be suspended so that matters be carried forward into the new year in 2025. The following matters, numbers 559, 138, and 353.
Motion to accept the report. All those in favor? What's that?
On the recommendation, we have so the decision was made to carry forward the flag of the Massachusetts at Ponkapoag be displayed in council chambers. We're waiting on an answer from the tribe about appropriateness of where that should be displayed and how. The Committee of the Whole meeting with the school committee and Senator Lovely and Rep. Cruz is a meeting that we would still love to have early next year. And the reappointment of the city clerk, which we said that would happen in the first meeting in February. There was also potential discussion around the ARPA funds. The committee decided to discharge it, but we're open for discussion on that right now.
Councilor Hapworth's motion to carry those matters forward. All those in favor?
Let's do under discussion, yeah. Councilor Stott.
Councilor Stott.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilor Hapworth, for the ARPA fund item. That meeting, we're fast and furious, and I was signing a resolution and it went right by me. And I wanted to request that one stay in committee to continue the conversation. When I asked the mayor for an updated report, he referred me to the recovery website, which was last updated in June 2023. So I think the public deserves an update, a transparent, clear, easy to read update of where we are with the spending and what we had left. We're coming up with the deadlines and timings. All of those dates that we talked about a few years ago are now up here. And I think we deserve a meeting, and I think we need a meeting relatively soon in the new year, which is why I would like for this to carry over. So it's not a fresh order in January and scrambling, and it's something that we can meet on as soon as possible.
Any further discussion? Councilor Musillo.
Was that an amendment? I mean, how are we doing this? Are you amending the list?
Okay, so that's an amendment to add Rule 29B for number 271, discuss ARPA funds.
Second.
On
adding number 271.
On Councilor Stott's motion to amend. All those in favor? Opposed? And it carries. Any further discussion? On Councilor Hapworth's motion to carry those matters forward. All those in favor? Opposed?
Communications from city officials, none. Petitions.
We have petition from National Grid to install conduits on Union Street.
Hearing order January 9th, 2024. Further petitions.
We have a request from UCAN Sports LLC to hold road race Marblehead Half Marathon and use of city streets on April 13th, 2025.
Councilor Varela.
Thank you, President Hapworth. I move that we continue to table this matter. Wait, sorry. Oh, Jesus. I'm starving just like you are. Thank you, President Hapworth. I move that this be granted.
Councilor Varela moves to be granted. Any discussion?
No discussion except for just good luck and glad people are running the streets.
Any further discussion? We need to bring some granola bars in here for Councilor Varela here. Any further discussion? Seeing none on the motion that's be granted, all those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Further petitions.
We have one drain layer contract operator license.
Councilor Morcillo.
Thank you. I move that this be granted.
Councilor Morcillo moves to be granted. All those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Further petitions.
We have a list of claims.
Councilor Morcillo.
I move that these be referred to the Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs.
Councilor Morcillo moves to refer to the Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs. All those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Further petitions.
We have one drain layer bond.
Councilor Morcillo.
Thank you, President. I move that this be referred to the Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs and returned approved.
Councilor Morcillo recommends this be referred to the Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs and returned approved. All those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Unfinished business.
We have tabled for the meeting held on September 12th.
Councilor Varela.
Reappointments.
Thank you, President Hapworth. I just would like to say something before I make my motion. So reason for this that I did not get to discuss on the September 12th meeting is the reason for this is we're looking into more training when it comes to a couple of these new ZBA members going forward. So that's a reason for the table. And for now, I'd like to continue to table the matter.
Councilor Varela moves that this remain on the table. I mean, I guess we don't need a motion in that case. Do we need to dispatch with it in some way? Like deal with it now that it's on the agenda? It's already tabled, right?
You should vote on it.
Okay. Councilor Varela moves that this remain on the table. Any discussion? No discussion. Yeah. All right. On the motion, this will remain on the table. All those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Further unfinished business.
There is second passage of an ordinance amending traffic, Chapter 42, Section 57A, parking time limited unmetered zones, Arbella Street.
Councilor Watson-Felt.
Thank you, President Hapworth. I move that this be adopted for second passage.
Councilor Watson-Felt moves to be adopted for second passage. Any discussion?
No discussion.
On the motion to adopt for second passage, all those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Further unfinished business.
We have a second passage of an ordinance amending traffic, Chapter 42, Sections 10, 49, and 51, relative to Columbus Ave and Winter Island Road.
Councilor Jerslow.
Thank you, President Hapworth. I move for adoption, second passage.
Councilor Jerslow moves for adoption for second and final passage. All those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Further unfinished business.
We have second passage of two following ordinance amending traffic, Chapter 42, Sections 50A, 51, 51B, and 57A, relative Franklin Street and Moulton Ave, and Section 50B, relative to Dearborn Street.
Councilor Stott.
I move for adoption for second and final passage.
Councilor Stott moves for adoption for second and final passage. All those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Further unfinished business.
We have second passage of two ordinances amending traffic, Chapter 42, Sections 25, 49, 51, 55A, and 74, relative to Jefferson Ave and Wilson Street, and Section 50B, relative to Whalers Lane.
Councilor Morcillo.
Thank you, President. I move for adoption for second and final passage.
Councilor Morcillo moves for adoption for second and final passage. All those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Further unfinished business.
We have second passages of three ordinances amending traffic, Chapter 42, Section 50B, relative to Laurel Street, Sections 51, 51B, and 74, relative to Savoy and Hemingway Road, and Sections 51B, 57A, and 75, relative to Broadway.
Councilor Cohen.
I move that all of these are adopted for second passage.
Councilor Cohen moves all three for adoption for second and final passage. All those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Councilor Prosniewski.
Matter of personal privilege, please, Mr. President. We all know that this is Councilor Hapworth's last meeting as the president. So, as tradition, on behalf of the Salem City Council, we'd like to present a gift for your leadership that you've done, for your outstanding leadership, your swift decisions, the way you conducted yourself in such a professional manner, and led us as a team swiftly through many waters that weren't so smooth, and you've done a very admirable job of conducting it very, very well. And I think for myself, I appreciate what you've done and look forward to working with you in future years. So thank you very, very much. Do we have any other further discussion?
Stand this just
It's President Hapworth. It is a Austrian religious artifact.
Steph.
So-
Open it now.
Open it up. It's real. It's real.
Kids today don't open their birthday. It's over.
Any further discussion?
Councilor Morcel.
I'll jump in here. Yeah, at the end of the year, it's a relief, right? But thank you for being the president this year and keeping everything on track. A little too swiftly sometimes, but yeah. But thank you.
What to say? Well, okay, so I don't like to make speeches here, but I do have a little thing that I've written here. I just wanted to, and it is well past my bedtime at this point. So Mike and the kids Micah asked if she and the kids should be here today. And I said, actually, we're setting the tax rate tonight, so probably one, you should maybe sit out here. But I'm sure when I go home, she'll be sitting home in front of the TV with SATV on, probably falling asleep. And she is a local politics junkie, but I think we all couldn't do without our spouses, and we're lucky to have them put up with us as well. I often joke that I've never met a completely normal elected official, especially local elected officials. There has to be something slightly off about all of us to put ourselves through this. But I like to think that we all do it for the love of service, or at least the love of performing on SATV in front of about 17 people, including Micah. I want to express my deepest appreciation for each of you. Standing here gives me a different perspective on this role. One of the commitments I made to myself at the start of this term was to step down as infrequently as possible, to ensure that I was focusing on ensuring that every voice was heard, every intended motion was made and understood, and our meetings ran as efficiently as possible. I think I may have broken a few records, as you referenced there, for short meetings, but I will also note that I'm the first council president in about 10 years that has not presided over Councilor McCarthy. So I think I probably had an advantage there in terms of speed. In serving this term, I've gained a lot of respect for all of you. And I'm going to go through each of you right now real quick. Councilor Watson-Felt, serving in the hardest role in this council, representing the most enthusiastic ward. I have watched you navigate it all with grace, and your remarks during discussions have been some of the most moving that I've heard, and the city is lucky to have you. Councilors Jerslow, Davis, and Harvey, stepping into this role in your first year is no small task. The three of you have done a remarkable job listening, learning, engaging, in debates in good faith and making an impact. Councillor Jerslow, you are the second generation to be doing this here, so there's something I think generational happening in your family right now, which is impressive. Councillors Morcillo and Stott, you guys have no idea how many times I've watched and rewatched your meetings to try to make sure I wasn't embarrassing myself up here. Not always successful, but I look to you as role models for this role and appreciate everything that you meant for this council. And you're also both role models for how to get things done in local government. I think something that we should all look to as models for the way we want to conduct ourselves. Councillor Cohen, I have told you privately how much I respect your ability to lead through difficult topics, but I want to say it here as well. And I'll admit that I expected you to come into this council, into this role focused on national issues. And you have definitely surprised me and many others by digging in, becoming an exceptional ward councillor. I've even met people at doors who say they deeply disagree with you on most policies, but find you an incredible ward councillor to work with and very responsive. And so I appreciate that. Councillor Merkel, you are without question one of the best ANF chair that I've served with. You show up incredibly prepared, do your homework. You make it much easier for me up here. And you're constantly out in the community. I can see you. My office faces Brown Street, and I see Councillor Merkel walking by, constantly going to different events and different things that I probably should be at as well. But you're a true model for what a city councilor should be. Councillor Varela, likely the first farmer to serve in Salem city government in 400 years, probably. You embody the spirit of a farmer, showing up with covered in construction dust, smelling like pickles, jotting down orders on napkins in the bathroom. But I truly appreciate your tenacity. And when Councillor Varela wants to get something done, he works as hard as he possibly can to get it done. And I think it is impressive to see in a local government official. And Councillor Prosnewski, having knocked on tens of thousands of doors, I feel pretty qualified to say you may be the most beloved man in this city. I think half of the city has your name in their phone, the name Conrad Prosnewski, spelled 100 different ways probably. But over the 3 terms that we've served together, I've learned that you love the city back just as much as they love you. I think your honor, integrity, and service give residents a lot of faith in local government. And then finally to Eileen and Maureen, this past year has thrown a lot at both of you, from elections to technology challenges, and the 11 of us. But I want to thank you for all you've done to serve the city, keep this body organized. We couldn't do it without you, and I hope this month brings you some much needed time with your families. And to my colleagues collectively, everything we've done together. There is no us and them in this chamber. There's only we. How any of us voted on any particular issue is far less important than what we did or didn't do collectively. Please continue to see the best in each other. This chamber should always be a space where we seek to understand before we judge, and where service transcends individual differences. And even when we disagree, especially when we disagree, we need to move past it and resist the pull of factions. Some of us have seen what factions look like on this council, and it's not pretty. Over these last 3 years, I believe this body has resisted that pull. And I hope it will continue this in 2025. Our focus should always be on collaboration and solutions to move the city forward. America now needs competent, dependable local government more than ever. While faith in federal government has eroded, mired in sound bites, squabbling, and cheap political points, local government remains a beacon of action and integrity. And it's here at the local level that the real work of building trust and improving our lives happens. And to the next president, my advice is to put your ego aside. This role is not about you. Your focus should be on creating space for every councillor to exercise the will of the people they serve. Try to keep your own politics out of the seat and concentrate on facilitating debate and progress. Continue to keep Councillor Morcillo and Councillor Varela seated next to each other, because I've enjoyed that dynamic this entire year. And then finally, I'll say, when I started this role in January, I promised to keep service and integrity at the heart of everything I did. Looking back, I hope we can all agree that this body served with those values at the forefront in 2024. And I want to thank you all for the privilege of serving up here. Thank you. Councillor Prosnewski.
Everybody done? Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. All those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries.